Hello, everybody. Welcome in, guys. Welcome to the stream. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. It's Friday night. Guys, today we're talking about, man, we got all kinds of juicy topics to talk about today. So I want to talk about the Ennies, some things that were going on with that. I'd love to talk about Deathbringer. I think that's going to be kind of interesting. Maybe we can talk about a few other things that AI is something that I've wanted to talk about in the past. This was like years ago, like literally years ago, on the other channel, on the Homebrew Tabletop channel, where I started talking about TTRPGs, and then I decided to move everything over here. And so I just want to talk about all of that. And I'm curious to see if we got some changes happening in the TTRPG space, because I think it's kind of interesting. So that's the plan for tonight. Where should we jump in? So I am sorry, I am poking through a little bit. Oh yeah, we got the bunny cam going, and I am poking through a little bit here with the green screen. My apologies. That's just oh no, I'm getting an error on the stream. I changed some stuff up on the stream, so I was dropping frames the other day. And it looks like we're having some issues. Okay, there's some issues. Let me see if I can't solve this real quick. Sorry, guys. It's telling me that I'm wondering if that's so weird. It's telling me right now that I'm streaming to resolution is 1620 by 1082, and of course the bunnies are going to leave right off the bat instead of 1080, which is weird. So I'm gonna have to test and see if the stream is even working correctly. I see people are dropping out, which I think usually means there's some technical difficulties going on. So excuse me while we see if we can't figure this out. If anybody's in chat and wants to let me know if they're having problems or if it's working well for them, I will very much appreciate that. I'm just pulling up the stream. But yeah, so I was at the Ennies at Gen Con. It actually looks like everything's fine here. It doesn't seem like there's any issues. Oh, maybe it's scaling things down a little bit. It looks fine. It looks fine to me. I'm gonna go ahead and roll with it unless somebody says something. It's just weird that people keep popping in and then popping out, but maybe that's just YouTube. All right. Where should we start? Cool. So let me just pull it up. Let's talk about Deathbringer. So for those who don't know, Professor DM, I think is what he goes by. Is that what he goes by? It is the... Yeah, let me pull this up. I have my own stream up here in the background. Hopefully that's going to be fine, just to make sure it's okay. Professor DM is what he goes by here on YouTube, and he has a channel here, and he's come out with a TTRPG. This is why I had to change the resolutions, because it's a lot of white on the screen. And apparently at the Ennies there were some issues for some people because Professor DM, he actually emceed the Ennies, and I guess they got some heat for it. And the reason I was told, I found out this while I was at the Ennies chatting with people, and the reason I was told is because of some of the artwork in his Deathbringer, his Kickstarter that was going on, and I was like, and as you can see maybe in the background, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. I don't know a whole lot about Professor DM. I've seen some of his videos. He's interviewed people like Matt Mercer and Travis Willingham and many other people in the TTRPG industry. And I was like, huh, surely he's not, well, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. He seemed like he gets along with everybody and whatever. And the TTRPG community, for those who don't know, there's several like subgroups. I mean, the tabletop role-playing game community in itself is kind of a subgroup, right? But then there's like subgroups of subgroups. And there are some groups that, obviously or maybe not obviously, but you have some folks that are, everything from like kind of think like manosphere people that have they have been playing D&D for forever. And then you've got, all the way to, a lot of the folks that watch Critical Role are kind of on like the opposite end of the spectrum, I guess. And I don't know if that's even a spectrum, but you've got some people that are very concerned with social justice and stuff like that. And then you've got some people that are all the way to the point where like it's kind of their entire like virtue signaling kind of becomes their entire personality. And I'm sure many of them arrive at that honestly, just like I'm sure many of the manosphere kind of guys arrive at that honestly. Um, but there's a, a broad swath, and there's a lot of microcosms to that group, and I just thought it was really interesting. So I defended this. Well, I didn't know, but when someone said something about this, I was like, "Huh, that's interesting." And then I just recently was checking out the artwork for this, and I was like, "Okay, like I mean, so on the front, yeah, you've got a literal chainmail, bra going on here with some Dolly Parton sized knockers." I was like, "Okay, that's interesting." All right, all right. And then you scroll down a little bit, and you're like, "Oh, I kind of see what's going on here." Now, it's interesting because uh what is the art style that this is called? There's a name for this art style. I bet they mention it here probably. But you start scrolling down and you're like, okay, I start seeing the problem here. We've got some interesting attire, and it seems to only be the female characters that are at least so far that are not fully clothed. You've got a warrior here with a full helmet, so you can't even see their head, but then they're in like some sort of chainmail bra and like two-piece bathing suit basically that's made out of metal, which is you're like, okay, maybe how are we going with this? Now, there was a style in the 80s of this artwork where it was, very, very sexualized. And, you think like Conan the Barbarian. But if you guys remember back to those things, like Conan, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger, right, is Conan the Barbarian. And he's also, here, maybe we can pull it up and like, and then, maybe we can pull it up and you can kind of see. But if you see Conan, he's not wearing anything either. Like he's wearing a loincloth, right? Like that's all he's got going on. And so, it's pretty over sexualized. Not particularly my style. I don't have any problems with it. Like I don't really care one way or the other. I don't. I'm at once like not prudish at all. Like I don't really care. I lived in Germany for a while, worked in a hospital. For those who don't know, that means, they put like topless, women in the hallways in hospitals. And then if you go to a gym, their co-ed locker rooms and stuff like that. Pretty uncomfortable for me, as somebody from the South, but it was something I adapted to after being there for a while, a lot of nude beaches and stuff like that. And it's not weird. It's just like, that's just the way things are. So that kind of got me over that. And, the other thing is I can't really be offended. I make videos and put them on YouTube. And so there's a lot of stuff like this where, yeah, you have Conan and you see the other, there's female characters. Some of them are more clad than him in a lot of the scenes, but that's kind of the vibe. Right. You got a couple. Oh yeah, here's one cool. Entree and, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's pretty cool. And, in the other ones, there's some other characters as well. And it's an art style. And you're like, okay, sorry, this is me testing out the stream. It's an art style. And you're like, okay. But you kind of look through and there's like a nun that's kind of showing cleavage. And this guy's got his arms exposed, I guess. And then you see pictures like this. I'm kind of scratching my head at this point. Like this cleric is dressed like a dominatrix nun. And then you're like, okay, there's a male character who is clad almost head to toe, like he barely has any skin showing. It's his neck up and his wrists to his hand. So one of his wrists isn't even showing. You got the main character, which I think, this art had been done, right? This is based on one of his characters, so he's pretty well clothed. Interesting. And then you got another female character who's also literally has the chainmail bra on. Not even hardly wearing anything on her bottom. And then you got a guy here who's like wearing skin tight stuff, but it's a little weird here because, not to get too graphic, but there's something missing here that normally you would see on a male character. So it's a little bit weird. And I don't think that is meant to be like so just kind of some weird. You got another character here that appears to be male, or maybe you can't tell, but I think in this style of art we could tell. So I'm going to say this is male, and he's literally completely covered up, literally wearing a plague doctor mask. And then you've got another female. This is the thief, and the thief. I play a lot of rogues, and I'm wondering what this thief is doing, posing like a pinup girl. on the top of a roof. This begs a lot of questions. I don't know how this art makes sense. Finally, we've got a male who's actually got his chest somewhat exposed here, not really wearing a shirt, even though he's wearing a cape. And you kind of go on. It doesn't get better from here. This whole thing, I don't even want to describe what's going on here, but like some of this stuff is a little ridiculous. And I don't know if this was done to try to generate attention or whatever. But this is not the art style. The art style would be everybody kind of being dressed this way. And it's kind of interesting because the reason I bring this up and the reason I think this is interesting is because Professor DM is pretty well known. He was asked to host the Ennies, so a lot of people know him. He's interviewed people like Matt Mercer, again, Travis Willingham. He has, Kelsey Dion from, I believe it's Dion, Kelsey from Shadow Dark, right? Has, he's done interviews with her and many other people. And I'm just curious I'm just really curious what, like, if anything is, sorry, the rabbit's not here. Maybe I'll get rid of the rabbit cam until they come back and eat their dinner. So we don't have a lettuce cam, but I'm just really curious, how the community is going to react to this kind of stuff. I think there's also another thing. Let me pull up another tab here and show you one more thing. That's going on, because honestly, I was like, hey, this probably isn't that bad. Like, I thought it was going to be showing a lot of skin. To me, this is problematic. And again, I'm not somebody who, I'm into virtue. I'm not really into virtue signaling. I think one is important and the other one's not really important at all. But there's definitely, some of this stuff is just crazy, and I think it's intended to be offensive, to be totally honest with you. Like, if this dude looked like this lady, then I think I wouldn't have a problem. I'd be like, that's just what they're going with. That's the art style. That's cool. That's what they want to do. All right. But it's kind of weird. This does feel like the double standard. Like, it feels like we are moving back to the 80s. It doesn't feel like we're doing a particular art style to me. That's just how it comes across from my point of view. And I'm just curious what's going to happen. I know that there were some people that were mad at the Ennies, again, that he was hosting. And what is it? Dungeon Craft here. And I'm curious that the TTRPG community is pretty, I almost want to say militant about certain things. And, militant is probably the right word. And I think some of it is, I think a lot of it is really good. So one of the things that the TTRPG community is really militant about, I think militant's right, again, the right word, is AI and people not using AI, because the entire tabletop role-playing community is a really small community. And, when people are using AI to basically replace artists and putting AI slop out and what have you, it does a lot of things. One of the things it does is it floods the market, right? So that's pretty harmful for people. And I think that's really it. I think it's the harm that it can cause to the community that everybody is up in arms about. So they don't want people to first off, lose work, lose jobs, and what have you. Hey guys, I see people popping in. Let me know if there's any issues you're having with the stream. I'm getting an error from YouTube, and I just want to make sure that it's okay. And I haven't heard from anybody yet, which is really weird with the number of people that are in here. So, or maybe you guys are just a different group than are normally tuning into this stuff. But yeah, it's harmful for artists, right? It's also, what happens when the artists are gone. All is okay. Thank you, Neo. I appreciate it. Thank you. YouTube is just freaking out on me for some reason. It's got like yellow pop-up banners on my control panel or whatever. So, this happens with other industries, with other types of things where, like, hey, if you drive everybody out of business, then you can kind of do whatever, right? You can charge whatever. And I think there's concern about that. There's concern about skill loss too. Like, we need more artists, not less. That's particularly true in the US. I think it's hard to be an artist in a lot of places. Europe, I think it's easier just because a lot of the social safety nets. The US, I think it's harder. And, there's, again, flooding the market so that people can't, okay, thanks, Joel. Yeah, they're not here right now. They ran off. I'm sorry. If they come back, I'll turn back on the camera. people, losing out on work and what have you is also an issue, and kind of understandably so. Um, but I just don't know what's going to happen with this because, if you look at some of these, I have questions about some of these thumbnails that have just recently started happening, and I don't know if this is just, I don't know. I don't know. Some of these I question if they're AI. I don't know if that's true or not. But in historically, just because Professor DM looks like he's uh, you know, lost a lot of weight and changed his look, and also has the exact same hair in some of these new thumbnails. And when I, like 2 years ago, was going to talk about AI, what I did is I did something similar to what to me it looks like is happening here, and I don't know for sure. But I took an image of myself and I turned myself into an elf, and I was hoping to have a uh, interesting and robust conversation about AI in the TTRPG scene. And you know, I have I have a friend who works as an educator, and I chatted with in the arts. And literally making art and doing graphic design and stuff like that. And I had talked to them at length. This was again several years ago when some of the stuff was just coming out. And one of the things that was being done by a software program that they were familiar with, because of course they teach, they need to be familiar with a lot of different programs, is that they were actively paying artists to both create art and also to edit things in their software, with the intention of using that information to train an AI. And the contract that these guys signed was that any work that was done from then on was going to be, they would get a royalty from it. So they could create something, they could do something, and then you know uh, then more people could use their work essentially, and they would get a royalty from it. I thought this was pretty interesting. I thought that was one of the many things that was worth talking about with AI, because I think a lot of the biggest problems is like essentially stuff being taken without someone's permission, and a lot of this, well, some of it's just flat being stolen, right? We know that some of the work is literally being copyrighted work is being stolen, should not be allowed to be used to train these AIs, and it simply is. There's also one of the larger AI companies was a nonprofit, and that was all just a guise, because as since they were a nonprofit, operating in Europe, they could scrape a bunch of stuff from the internet that they couldn't do if they were a for-profit company. Once they then scraped all this data, then they turn into, this is OpenAI, I believe, is the one, and then they turn into a for-profit company. Right, pretty shady, pretty underhanded. But there's also like various places where people can post their artwork for other people to see, so they can, then get commissions. They can have, people be able to see their art. A lot of those places also had very lengthy contracts, and I think we all know, anybody who's done any, well, we have to click yes to so many terms of service, and you're kind of signing your life away, and you usually don't even know what you're signing, right? It's impossible to read through. People have done videos saying, hey, if you read all the things you would commonly need to live a normal life, it would take you, 15 years to read through just the terms of service contracts, right? Whatever, kind of crazy stuff, right? We kind of know that is, it's not great, but there's a lot of artists that, hey, by putting your art on this website, basically we can do a lot of what we want with it, and you don't really have a say about it. And artists were, it's a problem, right? And even if it was technically legal, I think we can all agree it was pretty shady, pretty underhand. And I thought that this would be a very good topic to talk about. And I thought one way of getting people that were interested in AI was by having a picture of myself and then having an AI image changed to myself. And I was like, hey, I'm changing just myself. I think people are going to be okay with it. I'm using an editing software that, in theory was done in a way that seemed ethical, or at least attempting to be ethical. Regardless, I was like, you know what? I think this will get people to click on the video, and we can have this conversation. If you're wondering where I stand on all this stuff, I again, AI is, I mean, these AI companies and some of the stuff it's just unconscionable. I don't agree with it. I'm not okay with it. I also have a lot of friends that have PhDs, and they have been working with machine learning before anybody knew anything about AI for years and years. And so I also know the academic uses of machine learning, aka now the AI and machine learning, we've kind of changed and defined these terms over time, but at the time they were kind of all mixed up. We were calling machine learning AI and vice versa. I think there have been some like formal definitions that have been agreed upon and what have you. And talking about, hey, how can this be used for for good purposes in an ethical way? And I think there's a lot of academic uses for AI and so on and so forth. And the reaction I got, I did that image and I put it in a couple of Discords, including my own, to get people's reaction. And the reaction was so strong and was so and it could be just that there are people that were very, again, kind of militant about it, that were very just like, everything with AI is horrible. And this was several years ago, again. So, like, it wasn't, I don't think, as someone pointed out recently to me, a couple of years ago, we were talking about somebody else and something else. And they're like, yeah, a couple of years ago, like, if people didn't understand the problem with AI and data centers and all this other stuff, like, I could understand. But at this point, it's no longer conscionable. And I was like, interesting point, but let me tell you, let me also tell you something that could be, yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of where things stood. And people were so upset about it that I was like, you know what? Like, I don't think that we can have a conversation about it. It didn't seem like to me in the TTRPG space, we could really have a conversation about it. Because again, people will take these stances where if they hear it, yeah, it's just an extreme reaction and there's no real listening going on. And so there's no real conversation happening. This still happens. I was chatting with somebody on one of the socials, earlier on this week, and the topic of this is going to be weird to those of you who don't know who aren't familiar with this stuff. So it's not as weird as it sounds. Just go with me here, okay? I don't. But safety tools in TTRPGs. Now, if you hear that, a lot of people, the history of quote unquote safety tools comes from like some pretty extreme stuff. And I'm not really going to go into that here. It's not really the kind of stuff I would ever talk about on this channel, but it's kind of weird to hear it talked about with TTRPGs. And it's like, what's going on with this? And, this was another topic, but this came up and I, just mentioned, like, I think for a lot of games, for me, it's the majority of games that I am around or experience or am any part of, that the idea of safety tools is they're not needed, and it's a really weird idea. And the reason for that is because most of the games I play are safe for work, and that I even run are safe for work. We're not going to get anywhere near any topic that you wouldn't really get, like, again, you wouldn't experience at work, and it wouldn't be like a common, like, normal thing. And in that, regards, if somebody was like, yeah, and just like if there was some, normal topic that was off limits to you and you were playing, the other thing is, if I'm usually playing with friends, and it's the same thing, right? If you have friends, you know each other really well. A lot of times I'm playing with people I know from other playing other games with them or what have you. If I sat down to play a board game with somebody, just a normal board game, I wouldn't be worried about quote unquote safety tools. Right. That would be really weird because the topics that are going to be covered are going to be safe, depending on what board game. I guess if you're playing Cards Against Humanity or something, it's a bit risque, right? And I think it's the same thing for most people. You're playing a TTRPG at a local hobby store, right? Like with children around, right? Like, you're not talking about, there's no sex, there's, the violence is not going into grim detail, and so on and so forth. Some of the folks I've interacted with feel like every TTRPG game should have safety tools. Like, everybody should use them. And again, it's just really weird, to me at least. It comes off as, I think that the thing is they're playing different styles of games, maybe different groups of people, but these are the kind of niche groups that you find in the TTRPG community. And again, if you want to use those things, if you find they're useful, like, absolutely. And if you think everybody else should use them, okay, like, I'm interested to hear the conversation. but too often, just the idea, just me saying what I said is somebody took that to be, I don't think took it to some crazy places, right? Nowhere I was trying to go, nowhere I would try to go with saying that. And that is kind of the bifurcation of, or it's probably more than a bifurcation in the TTRPG community, is that you have a lot of these disparate groups. You have a lot of echo chambers as well, where another person I was chatting with recently, that I didn't know, catching up, talking with them on socials, was like, oh, none of my groups, someone used AI the other day and brought in an AI image, and I was, they were kind of like, they were shocked and they couldn't believe that. And I was like, I think that most groups that I know of will use AI in some form. And I explained to him that most groups, if you're looking for an image or what have you, you grab it all off, you grab it somewhere online. That might be Pinterest, it might be some other place. But you're just grabbing an image. So like having an AI generate, you're not paying for it. And so, having an AI generate it is, not a stretch for most people. And so I mentioned that and they're like, oh, well, maybe it's interesting because it's maybe just the groups that I interact with, because I've and it's like, yeah, like most likely, just like not necessarily everybody does it, but I see so many groups that I am in. And when I say that the group will use it, I'd mean at least one person in the group at some point will be like, hey, I just generated an image about a thing that was just talked about. And what have you. And, my particular take, because I'm sure people are probably wondering, I don't, use those things in my sessions or whatever. I also don't try to, just like I don't try to lecture people about any other thing that they do that I don't agree with. I don't really, have that conversation unless it's appropriate. And again, in the TTRPG space, I feel like there's so many extremes and so much of a lack of wanting to have a conversation that it's like, yeah, I don't even really want to touch this because people take it to extremes. They're not really interested in having a conversation. And the reason that I think having the conversation, I should have made this point maybe more clear early. I'll tell you, because, one of that person I was chatting with that said to me, hey, 2 years ago, I would understand maybe, but now people should know about the problems with AI and what the issues are with data centers, what the issues are with them stealing artwork and stealing other people's work and so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, I mean, valid to that's valid. I told them about a story when this was show you how old I am. I think this was a couple decades ago. I had recently gotten out of the military, and I was at a beach in the South, and I was with a group of friends, and one of them was a little bit older. We're on the beach, and this truck drives by and it ended up driving by several times. And it was a truck driving along the beach, big open beach, people out there, but it was a pretty big beach. So they could drive, and they were driving up and down the beach, and they had in the back of the truck, they had a rebel flag and a Nazi flag, in the back of the truck. Oh, we got a bunny. And these guys were driving up and down the beach. They were pretty young. I don't think they were out of high school or maybe barely. And they were driving up and down the beach, had a group of people in this truck. It didn't look like a bunch of, well, obviously it was a bunch of white people, but it didn't look, it wasn't just all guys or anything. It wasn't like a group like that. And these guys were driving up and down the beach, and turns out they were staying like, or maybe they lived or had a place like 5 houses down from where we were staying on this beach. And so we got back, we saw this, like we saw them like pull in or whatever. And so, me and my friend, the one that was a little bit older, were like, do you want to, we both wanted to go down and have a talk with these guys. And, we were both probably a little bit heated at the. I don't know. It could have gone. It could have gone different ways. Okay, we might have been talking, but we go down there and we go down there to talk to have a chat with these guys, and they're outside, right? They got like a fire, which is another reason why we're like, hey, they're outside. We can just go chat with them. So we go over there and go to talk with these guys, and I think part of it is like we walked over there and we were ready to like we were both pretty hyped. And my friend was, again, significantly older than I was, and he was pissed off too. And I think that we kind of like planned on walking over there, but didn't know what we were going to say at that point. We were both just like pretty amped, or if we were going to talk at all. And so when we got there, these guys, we kind of walked into the middle of this group of people. Everybody stopped to like look at us, like, what's going on? They're all out drinking, as you might imagine, right? And one of us was like, so kind of pointed to the truck that was parked there with these flags. What's up with the flags? That's about all we had. I don't know. We hadn't really planned a whole lot. And I don't remember the next couple of, had the back and forth or whatever, but I do know that we actually did end up talking. And after asking them a few questions, like, why do you have these flags? What are you doing? We both proceeded to kind of give them, I don't even know. My friend was giving them a bit more of a history lesson. He referenced the fact that his father had fought in World War II against the Nazis, that they are the bad guys. I had some other things to say, and but it really was a conversation. It was a pissed off conversation. Like, what the hell are you doing? You're an idiot. Do you know, like, the rebels are the ones who lost? Like, it was about, like, it was about slavery. It's not about states' rights. We had this conversation. And then we left, and we feel like these guys had listened. There wasn't really much else to do. I think they were also probably pretty, I don't know. They weren't huge. I wasn't either at that time. I weighed, I don't know, 70 or 80 pounds less than I do now. But we walked back, and within like a couple of hours, some of our friends that went down there and they had taken down the flags. And we saw those guys driving on the beach the next day, and they didn't have these flags in the back of their truck. I think that we did more by actually talking to those guys than we could have done by telling them how stupid they were, by telling them how ignorant they were, by telling them how racist they were, and what have you. And, with a lot of this stuff, with, when it comes to equality, when it comes to, things being, ethics and social justice and stuff like that. My friend I was out at dinner with a friend the other day, and they had a term for it because they were like, they were the same way. And interesting enough, we have the same background. So I don't know if that's where it comes from. I think they called it like justice sensitive or something. I don't know. There's some like psychological term for this, because whenever either one of us see injustice, we're like, it has to be fixed, and I have to fix it. And it has to be right now. And, this is something my wife tells me, that I act like a paladin, and she doesn't mean that necessarily in a good way, because I don't always do the right thing. I don't always walk over and talk to the person. Sometimes I'm like, you're a effing idiot for thinking this. Right. But to tie that into the conversation I was having with this person online is that, they were like, people should know, right? Like 2 years ago, there was an excuse. Today, there's no excuse. And what I kind of told this person this story, and my point in telling them the story is that did these ignorant kids down the road, did they have an excuse? I mean, somewhat yes, because they probably grew up not too dissimilar from how I grew up, which is I didn't grow up being taught racism or anything like that. Actually, quite the opposite. Even though, there are people in my family who I think they taught me better than the way they acted. If that makes sense at all. But grew up fairly ignorant, not knowing, being very uneducated and what have you. And that was also my social circles and everything else to some degree. I had some advantages that a lot of people that grew up living near me didn't have, which is more than likely the reason I got out, so to speak. But you know, those guys on the beach that day, you know, sure they could have educated them. Yes, they could have educated themselves. They could have learned, what have you. And maybe they were young. Maybe they continued on and did. Some people won't, of course. But the thing is, when confronted with the thing, and they had someone saying, "Yeah, my grandfather fought Nazis in World War II. Why are you flying a Nazi flag?" Hey, the South lost, and that was a good thing. Though you're having a flag for the losing side, which is also one that believe in racism and not treating people like people. And when confronted with that, they changed their mind. They at least changed their behavior, and I think they changed their mind to some extent. Did it have a lasting effect? Whatever, I don't know. But having the conversation helped. And with a lot of this social justice stuff, my personal take is, it kills me because I think a lot of people that have really good intentions don't realize this. Like they don't frame it in these terms. And maybe this was because I was in the military when I was very young, so it had an impression on me. Maybe it's because I've always been a little aggro. I don't know. But I think of this I think of it in military terms. I think of it in terms of a war. And I am most concerned with winning the war. Winning battles, sure. Okay. But I'm most concerned with winning the war. And if you're most concerned with winning the war, a lot of times you look, how do I get from point A to point B? And the other thing you look for is you look for allies, not enemies, right? How can you find common ground with people? How can you get people to help you? These are the kind of things, this is literally the way I think about this stuff. Another story, another anecdote of, this kind of thing is, and I've mentioned this story before, so I'll be brief. But I was at a wedding. There was a father of the bride who was there, and might have been the stepfather. I don't recall. But pretty old. He was a very old guy. And we were chatting with him. Very nice guy. Chatting with him at one point, and I don't know. He was talking about something, and he said something with like woke and then some other word, and he didn't understand what one meant or what woke meant or whatever. And he started to say this, and I started to explain it to him. And his one of his other daughters stopped me and was like, "He's got two biracial grandbabies. We don't need to get into this here." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I don't know if she thought I was going to lecture him. I was just going to give him some information, but I was like, "All right, cool." Basically, she was like, "Listen, chill out." And understandable, right? It's like, does this guy really need? Does this pretty old man really need this conversation when he's encountered this thing in his daily life? And I don't. I think the answer was, in that case, she felt at least, was no. And they were her grandbabies, so they were her babies. So in his so understandable, right? And I think too often this is the kind of thing, though, in the TTRPG space where we try to win the battle and we're not at all concerned about the war. But at the same time, I haven't heard anybody talk about this stuff. I don't know if anybody's raised this. I've heard people talk about. I haven't heard anybody online, and I didn't think this was that big of a deal. I didn't know what it looked like, but I was like, surely it's not that big of a deal. And then I pulled this up. Actually, I think it was like yesterday or today or whatever, and I was like, yikes. Okay, there's some stuff like this. Feels sexist to me. I don't know. Like, why aren't any of the males dressed, like it? There's a double standard going on here that's kind of gross to me. And it's really interesting. I don't know if the TTRPG community is changing to where they don't care about this stuff. I don't know if it's a different... I'm sure a lot of people on one side will say, it's definitely just a subgroup or whatever. I mean, no AI art is cool, but it's also weird because, I still have my stream up. I could probably close that. I think we've established this is good. but they're just up here. I'm just curious, and I think it's worth at least acknowledging that there's something going on here. And at the same time, I also think it's worth acknowledging that there is a way of dealing with this and a way of not dealing with it. Um, oh, Guppy, they were there. Guppy says, I'm loving the lettuce cam. They were there a second ago. I'll turn off the lettuce cam. But there's a way of dealing with this and addressing this in a way. Yeah, like here's all the characters. I'll blow this up. There's to me here, I look at this and I'm like, yeah, there's an issue here to me. That's how I feel. No, bring it back. I think I saw the lettuce twitch. Guppy trolling. Oh man. But there's a way also addressing this that is like healthy and reasonable. And I hope that we do that. I certainly wouldn't want to like start some sort of witch hunt or anything. I don't think I'm going to. I'm not that important or anything in the. But I do see how people would have a problem with this and could be offended by this. And it's kind of weird to see it so prevalent in the TTRPG space. And I think that maybe the thing that is going to happen is the thing that commonly happens, which people decide they like somebody and then they don't really care about their actions and they're not willing to be like, hey, I think this is messed up. That's my personal take. I find this stuff offensive. Frankly, I think that if any of the male characters were done like this is the most you're going to get. You're going to get a little open chest here. But if any of the male characters were done like this, I'd be like, yeah, it's the art style, because that is the claim. But it doesn't appear to be the art style except for female characters, which again comes off to me as at absolute best, an incredibly poor taste. And at worst comes off as kind of objectifying women and kind of weird. You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's coming off as metal," but again, you see this, and the only ones that not wearing clothes are the female characters. And again, I just find that a little gross personally. That doesn't mean that I think Professor TM is a bad person or a bad guy or anything like that. But I hope that they will adjust their artwork. I mean, this has got $1.3 million is what it's raised, a little over 7,000 or almost 8,000 people. And I hope that some of this concern, I think it's very valid. Again, not going to offend me. But I think it's kind of at best in poor taste. And I hope they change it. It clearly seems, although at this point, if you change the males, it's like clearly it was designed to be like this. But don't you know how protective bikinis are? Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, bikinis are so protective. Yeah. Yeah. And then some of these scenes I think are intentionally designed. It kind of feels like they did it almost intentionally to offend people. And if so, I don't know. Challenge, you've mission accomplished. Yeah. But, I don't know. This isn't one of those things that I just thought it was worth talking about. And it's interesting that it hasn't come up at all. I don't see any other. Hey, Talith, what's going on? Get the anti-woke dollars. They probably want you to talk about it. Yeah, probably so. Where's the bunny cat? Oh, we got the bunnies back. Oh, my bad. Talith, good to see you, man. It's been a while. I think that might have been part of the deal, Talith, but there's also people associated with this product. So let me show you this actually. Oh, well, thank you, Lyriel. Lyriel says she spent ages luring the bunnies over for the bunny cam. Thank you so much. Working hard. Probably for Guppy. Guppy, I got to tell you something. Guys, I want to show you some of the people supporting this because I think that's going to also change your mind. I understand what you're saying, Talith, and I don't necessarily disagree, but there's some stuff that'll change your perspective at least. It's somewhere here. Guppy, Lyriel was harassing me the other day and trolling me so hard, giving me such a hard time that I was like, you got to stop hanging out. You've been hanging out with Guppy Saurus too much. Because clearly I didn't used to get this kind of harassment. So this is some of the people that are associated with the product here. I guess I should read some of this. So just to make sure I understand who's doing what. So Deathbringer's world grows darker still with adventurers from a star-studded cast of creators. Leading the charge is Kelsey Dion. Um, Kelsey, I believe, has mentioned her wife before on her stream. She is the creator of Shadow Dark. And then you got a lot of other people, including Bob Worldbuilder, his longtime girlfriend, maybe wife, I don't know, Grace Mason. I also have some names on here that I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But there's some that I'm like a little bit head scratchy on. Mark. Yeah, Cypher's from Path. Yeah. Well, Mark works for Steven, I believe. Steven Glicker and Roll for Combat. They do a podcast all the time together. Mark, for whatever it's worth, I just want to say this about Mark. I think my experience with Mark and his wife is that they're really nice people. And that I don't think that I have not gotten any, like you said, you're surprised. I've never gotten any weird vibes from Mark. The only vibes I've gotten from Mark is that he reminds me very much of my dad, who's a computer programmer and is a very, I'm trying to say this in the right way. My dad is very like facts, and is very information and will love to talk about nerdy stuff and whatever. Not my dad, but I think Mark, and isn't someone that strikes me as, like my dad understands a lot of emotional stuff as like analytically, if that makes sense. Mark strikes me as that kind of person. I don't know that for sure, but that's like, I don't know him real well, but that's kind of how Mark, is your dad, Mark. I mean, honestly, you could do worse. I mean, he's a huge nerd and knows a lot about games, but no, I think he's probably younger than I am. Or maybe we're the same age. But hopefully that makes sense. And it's, I don't know, I was more than a little disappointed, honestly. And I wonder if no one has said anything because of this cast of people here. Nobody said anything publicly that I have seen on like YouTube and other places. And that's why I think it's worth talking about. And there are diverse faces here. I mean, clearly we can see that. But I think that what I would love to see, if I'm being honest, I would love to see like my bad and we're going in a different direction, to be totally honest, because they claim, what is the art style, man? I should look it up. There's some name for this art style, and I'll show it to you guys so you can see it. Does anybody know the name? It starts with like a K. Maybe when you see more art, there's much more guys dressed like Conan the Barbarian, etc. Yeah, maybe, but they did a decent number of pieces of art, and this is the closest it comes. And the one dude who's kind of dressed like Conan doesn't have a package. He's asexual. And I don't think that was an intentional choice. I think that was bad art. And so, but maybe all the other art. I just think this is clearly intentional, man. That's all it comes down to me. And I don't know if it was designed to like, get clicks or get people interested or get the manosphere guys to like get into it. But if so, like, what are all these other creators that seem like they would not support something like that? What are they doing? And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why no one has said anything, before now. When I heard at the Ennies cause he hosted the Ennies, that people were upset. Again, I was surprised and I was like, surely not. Surely it's not like that. Does anybody remember this style of art, by the way, though? All these D&D YouTubers support each other regardless, so I wouldn't expect them to speak against Professor DM. Neo, I think that's really my point that I'm trying to get at. Yeah, exactly. Like, I didn't know that. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know that. I haven't actually felt that way. I wouldn't be like, oh, I hadn't thought that before now that, hey, they just do, because a lot of these guys, speak out about social issues and seem to be, they were all very anti-AI art. There's even an anti-AI section here. A lot of them were very opposed to the OGL. And so, I thought for many of them, that they were those were all moral decisions, not decisions of convenience. And I still would like to believe that. I don't have any evidence, but I think we'll see. I'd really like someone to speak out. I mean, it's crazy though to see most of the male characters that look like this, and then to see the female characters that look like this. That's kind of wild to me. And then this guy, this isn't Conan. I don't know what this is. Yeah, I personally find this to be, I personally find it to be offensive. And again, I don't care about, I'm not prudish. It doesn't bother me. I'd like to see some other male characters that were actually, if this is supposed to be the art style, then why are none of the male characters done in that art style? That's the question I have. And I don't think there's an answer for it, because I think this is pretty clearly kind of gross, to be totally honest with you. I don't really think there's any other way to parse it. All right. What else? What else were we going to talk about? I'm pretty sure there was other stuff. Ennies were interesting. Guys, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Ennies if I can. Let me actually pull up the Ennies so that you guys know about it. So for those who are TTRPG nerds, and this is like a US thing, so I know, like, I don't know, Talith, I don't know if Talith if you've ever heard about this or been engaged with it or whatever. But the Ennies are don't want judges, I want winners and nominees. There we go. It's the Ennies, guys. The Ennies are something. It's an award show that happens every year, clearly meant to relate to the Emmys, because barely clothed female sells art. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does. Can we not also do the male? I mean, Conan, like, barely clothed men also sell art too. Guppy. Why does it look like somebody's kind of gross fever dream, like sexual fever dream, but only with like female? That's my issue. Because I mean, scantily clad. I mean, look at romance novels, right? There's romance novels with, yeah. So sex sells no matter what. Again, I don't mind that. This just seems a little bit creepy, right? I'm trying not to go into. I'm trying to not, because I don't usually do this. I'm trying not to go into too much detail, but if I really have to make that fine of a point, I suppose I could, but I don't think I need to. Right. But yeah, so the Ennies are an award show that happens every year at Gen Con. And while most people, I think, that play games have never even heard of the Ennies, it's incredibly important award show here in the US and, well, everywhere. I mean, people come from all over the world for these. And what happens every year is if you win an Ennie, usually the next day at Gen Con, all of your stuff is sold out or close to it, depending on how much you brought. And I chatted with a couple of creators who won the Ennies, and they're like, I was like, do you have enough supply if you do win? And they're like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, all right, we'll see. And they actually did. They barely had enough. And I was like, all right, that's really cool. Good planning on their part. But the Ennies, the way this works, and this is why it's so important. I should get to the point. So, I know some people have clicked off because they're less interested in this stuff. But the way the Ennies work, guys, is that the judges pick, and I hope I'm right about this because I still am not entirely sure I understand. The judges will pick a handful of contestants, right, to be voted on, and then the audience, and then we get to vote. And this will happen way later on the year. I'll try to announce it and make sure everybody knows. But one of the things that happens is that you'll have games, and I can actually pick one here. Let me search Warhammer. Yeah, so we talked about this on Monday, but here, let me blow this up too so you guys can see it. Here in best design and layout, for example, we've got Berserker, Deadline, Midnight, and then we've got Voidheart, and then Warhammer the Old World, right? Is the biggest competitor to the Ennies called Audis? Well, it's spelled with an E, Guppy. So the judges pick 3, and then everybody else gets to pick. Now, the Berserker by Slightly Reckless Games, and I don't know if this link will take us there. Yeah, it will. This is going to make my point incredibly clear. So, Berserker by Slightly Reckless Games this is an indie game studio. They produced one other product, one other like TTRPG, and they're working on their third now. Berserker been out for a little bit. What happens is that games like Warhammer, like this game, like it has Warhammer in the title. And so people will just go vote on it. We talked about this at length on Monday about this product, this Warhammer the Old World RPG by Cubicle 7. I told you guys how I know I chat. I don't know them well, but I've chatted with the people at Cubicle 7. They're huge nerds. I like them. I think they super care about Warhammer, et cetera, et cetera. This product is not a very good role-playing game. The product itself is done like a lore document, makes it really hard to actually use and play. And the layout on it, I gave the layout and design like a 2 out of 10. I recorded a video this week before I realized they had won first place, and I said that I thought their layout and design was like a 2 out of 10. And these guys won first place. And if you see Berserker, I showed you guys on Monday what it looked like. But if you see Berserker and you see their layout and their design, it's ridiculously good. It looks so amazing. It's S tier, okay? There's also, let me go to the free stuff because I talked about how there was no rule reference for Warhammer. And these guys, this little independent studio, which is like, I think it's like 2 guys and some, and then, people they contract work, but it's like 1 or 2 people that are doing this. And I doubt it's their full-time job. I seriously doubt it. Maybe they're so successful now that they can make this their full-time job. But you look at this and you're like, man, this is great. They've got all the rules you need, all put on a page or 2. This is free, by the way. Look at this character sheet, guys. Holy shit. Look at this character sheet. It's amazing. There's artwork. The whole character sheet is artwork. It's amazing. Right. And then again, the book itself, just looks absolutely amazing. And all of their stuff is like this. You're like, look at this layout. Look at it. It's amazing. S tier. So easy to reference. Like it's if you want to talk about art style, this is just amazing. And then this got second place to, oh my gosh, where are we at here? This got second place to Warhammer the Old World. Why did that happen? Well, the reason that happened is because for Warhammer products, a rounding error on their audience is more people than have ever heard or played Berserker, which is understandable. This will continue to happen. It is what it is. It's not going to change overnight or what have you. But it's incredibly important if you guys are into the RPG industry, if you are into these games, if you care about them, what have you, to go vote. So that the small companies that are objectively doing a much better job than these more established companies, I don't want these companies to go away. I want all of them to be able to succeed. But honestly, Cubicle 7 and Warhammer does not need more press. These awesome games that are being made, there are so many TTRPGs that are absolutely amazing that die on the vine. And also, this happens with board games and other stuff. They die on the vine because nobody knows about them. And what I have tried to do with the other channel, and now I'm trying to do here, is review these products and talk to people about them because I just want people to know about them. I want people to know how great they are, how fun they are. And, I'm going to continue to try to do the best I can to do my job in regards to that. And it's really hard. It's kind of unfortunate because nobody's searching for those kind of videos. Because how do you search for something you don't even know exists, right? Completely understandable. That's the way kind of YouTube works. You might search for Warhammer because you know it exists and you care about the lore. But, for those of you who catch my videos, who catch, stuff I'm talking about, I'm not trying to give you guys work, but I'm saying if like you're into this stuff and you see these products and what have you, go out and give them some love, consider checking it out. Again, you maybe you're like, hey, if you don't want to buy it, right? If you're like, hey, I don't want to buy this thing, I don't know if it's good, yell at me to review it. I listen. I'll pick it up. I've got about a million things I need to review, and they take. I'm learning. I'm kind of figuring out the review process, so hopefully I'll go faster. More about that in a second. But let me know, and then if you hear about or somebody else is talking about something, share it with the community and let other people know. Let me know. I'm happy to check it out and go buy it. And basically, all the money that I make from the channel, I just put back into usually buying products. Do any of these have shirtless barbarian men with chiseled abs and tree trunk legs? I think so. Look at this guy. He's shirtless, got tree trunk legs. This guy on the front, same deal. Yeah, they do. Is that what's going to sell it for you, Guppy? Is that what you're looking for? And this also has, OSR mechanics and what have you. It's a little bit more cartoonish style, so I guess it depends. It's not really cartoonish. I don't know what to call this style. Graphic novel style. So I don't know if that does it for you, but I mean, this is just amazing. Your HP is like recorded on literally on a heart that is drawn on this character sheet. It's absolutely amazing. And then again, having the One Piece rules reference. Oh, thank God. So good. So good. You do like the graphic art style. I haven't picked this up yet. I was thinking about waiting. I was trying to see if they're going to be at Gamehole Con, which I think I might be going to. And I don't think they are. They're based in the UK, and it's like one or two people. Like I said, they're like the base. And again, I'm sure they get help with everything else, but at least I imagine. But yeah, one of many. And I mean, there's so many more here too. And there's also great companies like like Free League. Free League is hails from the same place Jewel does. Sweden, I believe. Yeah, pretty sure it's Sweden. Free League is so they did the Coriolis. Free League, their products are generally always really great. They produce high quality, really good products. And I just like what they do. They also do take good care of their peoples. Yeah, you also have things like Darrington Press, Daggerheart. Daggerheart won an award. They won a couple of awards, I think. So they got a silver here. I think they got gold for their Quick Start adventure. Best rules or something too. Best best rules. They also got best rules. Now, some of this stuff, like this best rules, like I don't know of all these other games, and I think this is part of the problem. I actually picked up Daggerheart because of this. I had played the pre-launch stuff, and I was not very happy with it. And a lot of people in the TTRPG community that do this stuff, that cover games, that are game designers, were very critical of Daggerheart, and I think I felt the same way. So winning best rules means that something either drastically changed since I last saw it, or they won a lot of these things because, again, their audience, like a rounding error for the audience, is bigger than the rest of these games have in a total market share. And I think that is almost certainly some of what is going on here. Not to say some of the stuff wasn't really well deserved, but almost certainly that has an effect. And maybe they turn these rules around, and people are really digging it after being disappointed with their first product, which was Candela Obscura, and then being disappointed with not really liking their playtest stuff very much. I kind of like gave up on them a bit. But they won first place for best game and for best rules. I care a lot about best rules. That's something that kind of nerdy part of the TTRPG stuff I care a lot about. So I'm going to check it out again and see see if I happen to agree. And I'll also note, guys, too, just as a reminder to everybody, with all of this stuff, like I ran into Spencer Stark, who's the one of the lead authors, and I think Rowan was also there. I ran into them at the airport, and I saw them at the Ennies. Like the people at Cubicle 7, I talk to them every year. What the reason I tell you that is because there's something different when you're reviewing someone's product when you don't actually meet them or talk to them, and it's different when you're reviewing someone who at like you consider at least an acquaintance or a fellow professional in the industry. Like I might review someone's product poorly. I mean, I already have, right? Like I recorded, and I've done stuff in the past where I'm like, yeah, I don't really like this product. And then I'm going to see that person and talk to them. And they're, it's a different thing when you're like, hey, what's going on? I like you. I think you're a cool person. I really didn't like your product. It doesn't mean I don't like them. It doesn't mean I think that, everything they do is bad. It doesn't think that I think that all the stuff they make is trash. The thing they made is trash or whatever. It's simply me trying to do my job as a reviewer, as somebody who reviews these products professionally, to say, hey, I didn't like this, or hey, in some cases, again, with the like Cubicle 7 stuff, like this is an objectively worse product than what some other people are doing for the thing that it purports to be. And if you wanted to make it a reference lore document, and like first, then you should have kind of said that. But I think clearly they meant to make it a game, and it just didn't really land there as well as I think it should have. And they could also be like, hey, fuck you. I'm also not going to be offended if they feel that way, right? Has anybody seen the clip with Adam Driver? Like somebody, I think it's Adam Driver, if I'm thinking of the right name, played Kylo Ren. And somebody like asked them, and like they give them this really loaded question where they're like, what do you say to people who think that this work wasn't that good and blah, 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 and other stuff was better? And he's like, I don't know. Fuck you. Next question. That's fine. I understand. I'm not trying to hate on anybody. And in fact, I want to encourage all of this stuff. But I also, my job as a reviewer is to give honest reviews and honest feedback. And so I have to do that as well. And so, yeah, I just have to do that. That's, it's very uncomfortable. I hate it because I don't like saying bad things, but at the same time, like there's also the social justice part of me that's like, man, this is such an amazing game that these guys, like a couple of people worked on and made, and I want it to, get the love that it deserves. Oh man, we've only been going an hour. I feel like I've been talking for 6. Oh man. That's most of what I had to say. Did we talk with Deathbringer? We talked about the sexism, Ennies, AI. I think we've covered most of it. I think we covered almost all of it. I am curious to see, if overall, if the stuff with Deathbringer, if this changes. I'm curious to see if anybody is going to. I think that, the thing I would personally do if I were any one of these creators is I would address the stuff behind the scenes first, and then I would like encourage them to do something publicly about it, say something publicly, and if not, I would like bail on the project myself. That's what I would do. Maybe none of these guys, maybe I'm off base. Maybe this isn't offensive to most people. Maybe it's not offensive to any of these people. I guess we'll just have to see. I'm just curious if this is going to have a lasting and permanent effect on this space. I'd bail on a project over the art. Actually, Talith, funny story. So yes, I'm going to answer yes for a couple of reasons. I would bail over a project if I felt like it was not in line with my moral compass. I would do that. If I thought a project was objectifying women, and yeah, I wouldn't really want to be associated with that. I wouldn't. Yeah. I think that people learn things over time. I mean, I think hopefully I made that abundantly clear. Yeah, but yes. Also, let me show you some art that I would bail on. I would bail on a project over some art. This is for, I'm not even going to say what this is for. Because I'm kind of just describing it as the meme that I kind of feel like it is, and I'm not really going to talk about it in a way that I think that I would like to generally speak about products. But well, never mind. I'm not even going to show it. I'll say this. I recently, in the past couple of days, I've recently seen some art that was so bad of a major IP that has a series of books that I think are amazing and I've watched all of. It has a TV series that I've watched and think is amazing, and it also is a TTRPG or was made into one recently. And there's like 12 of these, so you're not going to know which one it is unless you know. And the art is so bad, it's like laughable. And I was like linking it and like talking about it. Like one person's arm is like, one of their arms is like 50% longer than the other arm. And one of them is like, doesn't have an elbow. The arm is cocked in a different way. Just a lot of like the human anatomy in it is just wild and doesn't make any sense. And again, it's a massive IP. And I'm like, what is going on? I wouldn't want to be associated. The art, maybe not. It's really though. It really is the, I told you, man, it's just the paladin thing. I wouldn't want to be associated with something that didn't agree with like what I thought was ethical and right. I don't know. Guppy says, I personally would like to see less sexualized women. Like we can look cool while wearing clothes. It's not hard. Yeah. And like this is actually, I mean, this has happened with, to me, this has happened to me with like Final Fantasy 14. I have some friends that are really into Final Fantasy 14, and they, this is at the time, this was like a husband and wife pair, and they, maybe you're watching, and like, there's a lot of like really sexualized art, and I don't even know what they're into, but I learned to it from them. And, if people are into that and that's what people want to do, like, I don't care. If people want to ERP, I don't care. If people are like, yeah, we want really sexualized art, again, I don't care. This stuff seems creepy because it's only the women, and some of them are in like bondage situations. And I think that is creepy and weird. And I don't think I don't like it. So yeah. And again, if this were given equal measures to both sexes, it wouldn't feel, but the problem is there's a long history of sexism with all of this stuff. And so pulling these images without addressing the sexist kind of part of it is kind of like, feels like you're condoning it. That's what it is. I think in one sentence, that's what it is. It feels like you're condoning it and supporting it. That's fair. It's a tough call for the designers who are on board a project well before the artist commissioned. Yeah, and I mean, I would feel blindsided if they didn't know and this happened. Like, I would be kind of pissed off because I would feel blindsided. They said that the style of art was going to be like this. Again, I need to look at let me just Google it. Let me see. Come on, Google. From the 80s. I think that what I could see like being the most likely thing to happen too, to be totally honest, is they quietly add more males and never address the fact that this is the way it launched. That would also be pretty gross to me. Never addressing it. All right. We'll see if we can find it. I like the one with Lyriel says, I like the one with the torso was 1.5. Oh yeah, one of the art that I was talking about, the torso of this person was like 1.5 times the length of their legs, which was really weird. There's one where someone who's like injecting, the doctor is like, there's someone on a table and the art is done so poorly it looks like they're about to inject themselves, not the patient. I thought that was pretty funny. Lyriel says, but in Final Fantasy's defense, Moogles are fun. Yeah, and the serpent guys that look like Pokemon and the crazy birds. Yeah, there's a lot of fun things in there. Guppy says, I remember accidentally stumbling on an ERP session at ESO before. It was an interesting time in Cold Harbor. It had vampires. Oh my god. Also, Cold Harbor is wild setting to pick for that. I don't know. I think some of the Daedra are like a little bit like a little bit of like dominatrix stuff, like themed or whatever. I don't know what the male version is. Let me see. Kirsch maybe? Is that a thing? No. No, that doesn't look like it. Well, it's saying this. Yeah. Maybe I Oh, I know what the problem is. I'm using a horrible. So Google is telling me, and we're gonna have to go to Google. I usually use DuckDuckGo. Doesn't actually work that well, unfortunately. Um, let's see if we can get some stuff here. Nah, this is not obviously not it at all. Hmm. Well, I'll have to find another time, but yeah, there's a style again where like everybody is clad like this, and that's just clearly not what is going on here. So yeah, one way or the other, that's not what's going on here. So yeah, I hope that they don't just like quietly change it and don't ever address it. That to me would feel like the most cowardly way out. And again, they said they were going to do art style like this, but again, they use the reference of the name of this art style. It's probably on here actually. Maybe I can. I don't know how many KIs are there going to be on this page. A lot. That's all I remember is it's like KI something. I thought maybe it's not even that. It might be like KE or something. We're just going to go through. We're going to go through every instance. Maybe I could try art too. Although I think that's, yeah, it's not even there. Maybe it's not even on here. Maybe it was some other place to see their art style. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Let me see. Art's created by humans. No. Wait, that was art. Nope, not seeing it. Yes, Guppy. What is your question? When is the lettuce going to get up and move with the lettuce cam? The lettuce cam is weird, so I try to turn it off when the bunnies go. What's your question, Guppy? Oh, Frazetta. That's it. It's named after an artist, Frank Frazetta. Let me pull this up. Hey, we found it. There you go. Plenty of artwork like this dude. Or this guy. Or this guy. And I'm sure there's also plenty of. And I mean, this guy's mounted. I don't know if that's even the same thing, or if it's just related. But you kind of get the idea with the broad swath of the number of images here. Yeah, yeah. I think that is the vaguely the intent. I mean, they said they were doing it in this art style. Like that's been explicitly said. Um, although again, yeah, but Standing Man, Lying Woman, yeah. Well, that's actually also like a reference to like Conan the Barbarian did that as well. Arnold Schwarzenegger did like a photo shoot where he's kind of like that, and he's got like multiple women like holding onto his leg for some product or something like this one. Yeah. It just the rest of it seems a little bit incongruous when every single woman is like scantily is. I mean, the cleric has a hat on like she's a nun, and then other than that, she's dressed like a dominatrix. Um, and like they're all like this. It's just a little weird to me. It's a little over the top. It's not even over the top because that's the intent. It just seems sexist because it's only the women. And like all but one of the men are completely, you know, clad besides showing their arms. And the one guy that's supposed to be like kind of Conan, like it's like they couldn't draw his junk, you know. Uh, what kind of cleric is that? Yeah, what kind of cleric is that, Guppy? Yeah, we got a male in a complete like head to toe plague doctor thing, and then the next one is a thief, posing like a pinup girl. Yeah. Anyways, I think we've I think we've made the point as much of a point as can be made here. I think it's been made. I think it's pretty clear. I don't know if there's anything else to say. I don't even like talking about this honestly. I'm just curious what's going to happen within the TTRPG community, whether there'll be an outcry about this. I mean, this one I like is again, if this were one of and there were a bunch of other ones done a bunch of different ways, I wouldn't think too much of it, but like clearly this is there was an intent here to me in choosing this uh, for their marketing. What's up? What? You had your question. Oh, is there a TTRPG where you play as animals like all the characters are animals? Um, I think they know their intended audience. Yeah. Well, I just want to know what all these creators think about this. That's part of what I want to know, and I would like to know what the community thinks about this. Those are my questions. Not answer the question. Yes. There are several. Guppy. The most cute is probably going to be Humblewood. Are you familiar with Humblewood, Guppy? Um, yeah, these guys pretty. This is probably one of the most popular, if not the most popular. This is a 5e supplement or 5e compatible series of books. I believe that Critical Role did a sponsored thing where they played this. Yeah, there we go. Having Liam GM, it looks like. You get to play as a cute little creature. It's absolutely adorable. Yeah, so Humblewood is one of them. There are several more. Some of the other ones are like obscure and I haven't checked them out. Like Shard, I don't believe Shard has any humans in it, but you're not like cute creatures. Shard is a very, it's like one or two people. I guess I got to do, oh, Shard tabletop. Wow. Second one. Wild. Maybe, or that, wait, those are humans. Oh no, Shard tabletop is something else. Hold on. Uh, Uh, right. I'm pretty sure Shard Tabletop is something else. Let me confirm. Yeah, Shard Tabletop is something else. Um, I guess maybe Shard RPG. There we go. This one, yeah. So you can play as like an elephant dude. You got a cat person. This looks like a gecko. Um, I'm interested in checking this one out. I've talked to these guys at Gen Con before, but I have never picked it up. Uh, Characters, yeah. So you're all like transmorphized animals. You got elephant people, kind of wolf-like creatures. These are anteaters. You got a flying squirrel with a bandolero. That's pretty freaking cool. Is that an anteater, like an aardvark? I don't know. Got the lion guy. Got the monkey guy. Oh, look at this very learned. Um. Oh my god, porcupine. Oh my gosh, with his little quill and everything. Oh, the Owl Knight. Yeah, yeah, Lyriel. That is. There's a statue at Gen Con. Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, this one looks pretty interesting. Shard here. So Humblewood gets a lot of attention. I haven't had the best experience chatting with these guys. Not a terrible one, but I haven't had the best. So I haven't covered it or anything. I'm not uninterested. I've had bad enough experiences that I was like, there's other products that I'm just gonna go look at those. But I'm sure many people love it. That's not a reason necessarily not why you shouldn't check it out. It's just been my experience of why I haven't covered it. Shard is interesting because yeah, because the characters are adorable. And yeah, yeah. Uh Shard is interesting because this was created by uh an American, but he I think he was like the child of a diplomat, and he grew up in Southeast Asia, but he's like a white dude. But he grew up there and lived most of his life there, is my understanding, or at least his early life. And so his culture is like Southeast Asian, but I think his parents again were American, and he so this game world doesn't have any metal, and they use crystal, and the world just doesn't have any metal, which I think is a really interesting, like very interesting world building. And to me was like, really, I just love world building and that kind of stuff. And they use crystal instead, which I think is where the idea of shard comes from. Um, but I don't think it's done incredibly. It hasn't done incredibly well. Humblewood has just amazing art. I got to chat with some of the artists that actually did some of the work for these guys. Um, and they're really cool people. And I am excited to one day get to commission some art for some products, especially by people that make stuff that this cool. I mean, look at this poor guy. He's missing an ear. He's got like a bandage on his ear. I think that's a rabbit. Maybe that's like a mouse or jerboa. It's absolutely adorable. And they make some other products as well besides Humblewood. What are some other ones? Because there's more. It's kind of hard when you're like looking at something to like think of unrelated things. So close my eyes and think. There are some other ones. What other ones are there? There's a lot of other ones where there are humans, uh, but there are a lot of other things. I'm trying to think of ones that they're specifically. So some of the other ones that I'm thinking of would be, there's one that you play as insect. Everything's like kind of insect theme. They're not gross insects like you might think. Oh, that's not, but it's still not super necessarily super cute. Um, there is there's another one that I'm thinking of that is there's some insects. There's another one where like the world has been overtaken by trees and plants, and you ride on ships that ride along a sea of plants, sea of trees, and like if you cut it, it just immediately grows back. And so it's kind of, I don't know, it's interesting and different. But like there are some like you can play as like a moth type species and a few others that humans have kind of evolved into, but you can also play with like kind of a more human like, and they're not nearly as cute as this art here. I mean, this art is adorable. This little mink looking guy. What up, Rev? Should I check out Humblewood? Is that what I'm hearing? Check it out and talk about it. We could probably do that. Um, I've I've had like I said, I've had like not necessarily the best experiences. So so that's why I haven't covered it, but I could still check it out. It doesn't it could be, like there's a number of reasons why that could happen that have nothing to do with, you know, uh it could just be bad luck or whatever. So All right. Joel says yes. All right, definitely. I will check it out. The other thing I was gonna I'll probably talk about this more, so I don't want to say too much. But I will be playtesting over the weekend for the first time. So talked about some of the stuff that I'm interested in developing and that I'm kind of working on in the background. Maybe not in the background anymore, kind of in the foreground. Is you know, let me maybe find a not quite so blindingly white screen here. Maybe can we get a shard? I'm gonna pull up shard because it's a little bit darker. I so I've been playing TTRPGs since as I've mentioned many times, like since I was really young, and I have played a lot of different kinds, been reviewing them obviously, and what have you, and there's a handful of things that I want out of a TTRPG, and I've looked for it and I haven't found it. And that's kind of wild because there are so many different TTRPGs out there. Although, maybe like 20% of the TTRPGs out there are original as far as their rules, maybe more than that. But many of them, no, I think most of them are maybe offering a different flavor on a particular rule set, but they're all made in the same rule set. And those rule sets do certain things, and those rule sets are great for a lot of different people and what have you. But haven't felt like great for me. And I say that, like, I enjoy all of them. I enjoy generally speaking, all the products I review. Because if I don't, I just don't review them. If I kind of realize it's just like a bad clone of some other game, I just don't review it. I don't talk about it. So you guys, you don't generally speaking hear about that. But there's so many things that different kinds of games offer, and some of them get a lot more. Like some of them are less about the mechanics are very story driven, and the mechanics are like, there's what is it, 10 candles, where like there's you actually light candles, and that's part of the mechanics of play, and a lot of other stuff. Guppy, yes, is a tabletop something you're looking for? I hear it's a critical part of playing a TTRPG. Thanks, Guppy. I've got one. It's the woodworking thing. I've got one made. And so what I have been looking for, so I play GURPS right now. That's the main thing that our group plays. And I still love GURPS. I still love all these products, right? But for the longest time, one of the things I really liked about GURPS is I felt like it did so much more for me. So I play D&D, and it's interesting because I've chatted with other people that have played D&D a lot. If you play enough D&D, you get to the point where you want to make a character that doesn't have a class. And what people have done is they've made new classes, sure, and stuff like that. That can satisfy that. For some people, that's satisfying enough. For me, it is not. I would like to be able to grab stuff a la carte. I would like to have a fighter that can do a few spells, or maybe just one. I would like that can still generally be just as effective as a fighter. And it's like, the answer to this, if people are just fanboying on D&D, it's like, well, you just do this or you just do that. And those, you're still picking a class, and it's still very constrictive. And there are an infinite amount of possibilities that you cannot do unless you're going to homebrew a class every single time. But then you've got to balance it against other classes, which is problematic, and it's never going to work, right? You can make it work, but you are making it work. And at some point, if you're creating your own TTRPG to play with your group, why not just create your own TTRPG? And so I moved. So again, after playing D&D for longer than most people have ever played D&D, like that play it on a regular, I was like, yeah, I would like something more. And so I started looking, and I had played other systems before. And to be honest, I haven't exhausted all of the different, fundamentally different kinds of systems out there. I know that. But I'm working through them. And anyway, so GURPS is a system that we kind of landed on because GURPS is a horrible name, first off, but it's an acronym. It stands for Generic Universal Role-Playing System. And they have in their front what all that means. But essentially, it's designed to give you, I would argue it's designed in a lot of ways to give you the tools to make whatever you want. So the base core rules of GURPS give you rules that you could use for sci-fi, that you could use for classics fantasy, that you could use to make transmorphized animals like Humblewood or Shard here. And that works pretty well, and it worked really well for a long time. And then again, maybe this is just me being kind of at the extremes, but after a while, you start to see the problems. And so one of the things that GURPS, or some things that GURPS does well, is it does let you make kind of whatever you want to make, which is really cool. And if you want to, you can combine things from different worlds. The core characters that GURPS references in the basic set, like its basic rule book, is a character from a high-tech world, a character from a fantasy world, and so on and so forth. And they're all related. And in theory, they all, and someone from our world. And there are great explanations for in-game lore and for rules for why they would be together with their it's their main custom setting, which is Banestorm, is what it's called. And yeah, great. Does all this stuff. I have played GURPS enough that I have issues with it. There are, in some ways, like there are too many skills. If you play something, like the tech levels aren't balanced. Like you might buy something for, GURPS is a point buy system. So you might buy something for 10 points and find out that it's incredibly powerful. An example of this is if you buy levels of what's called innate attack. So if you want to play like a Mega Man type character where you got a gun for an arm, you might decide to use some of your points to buy an innate attack. And you could spend 15 points on innate attack and have a really strong innate attack. You could even have a broken one for that, or almost. And then another thing that costs 15 points, I believe, is speak with animals is a 15-point advantage. Lyriel can maybe give me a thumbs up or down on whether or not speak with animals, speak with plants, is that 15 points?
15 for animals, 10 for plants.
15 for animals, 10 for plants. Okay, that's what I thought, but Lyriel I knew would know right off the top of her head. Sorry to bother you. Thank you. So it doesn't really make sense because speaking with animals, they don't gain intelligence by being able to speak with them. It just means you could communicate with them. I'm losing people here. I know. I'm sorry. And so it's not really balanced, right? If you take a high-tech character and you drop into a low-level world, it's not balanced. You can also have two people at your table where one decides to spend all their points into non-combat type things, and someone else who plays a normal character, and then a third person that is a munchkin and like min-maxes their character. And it's really hard to design encounters for that kind of a group because the person who picks all these fun RP things, like speak with animals and speak with plants, can't, like the other person is like one-shotting everything, right? That min-maxed. So what I personally want is a system where, to get to the point, what I really want, I know we're losing people, I'm sorry guys. What I really want is a system where you can make whatever you want to make. I like the idea of a point buy, but there's other ways of doing that as well. I'm actually not looking necessarily at doing a point buy, but I would like something where you can have a base system that does a lot of things you want. So if you want to play in a sci-fi setting, you don't have to change your system. If you want to play in a traditional fantasy system, it should do that very well. And what if I want to interact with these two worlds? How do you do that? And does the game provide the tools and information so that you can know if you're bringing a really powerful character into a really low power setting otherwise? What he really wants is a third bunny. And that's one of many things I would like. I also think that for most things, realism is it's important to define what is realistic. So one of the things that I've criticized D&D, modern D&D, and I think probably older ones, but modern particularly, and several others. Oh, we got a bunny. And several other systems is So what D&D does is doesn't want you to have to deal with like carrying capacity and strength. So D&D raises the base strength up incredibly high. A level 10 strength in Dungeons and Dragons is way stronger than any normal person is. And I've done an entire video on this. And there are many other things that kind of fall into this same vein. The reason, and then also at the extreme high end, has also been brought down. Because if people were as strong as they could be in real life compared to other people, it breaks the game system. The game system is not designed to deal with this reality. The reason I think that a lot of people complain that, yeah, this is in tabletop. Yeah. The reason I think people complain about, like people will be like, oh, it's not meant to be a simulation. No game is a simulation. That's generally speaking, honestly, kind of a cop out. I mean, I think people mean something genuine by it, and you could have a conversation. They either don't mean what they say they mean, or like they're because they misunderstanding, or a lot of times it's a cop out. Because the reason that heroes and superheroes and other things are amazing and can do these crazy things is because we compare them to the average person. And that is our basis, right? We all have reality that we live in. We see what people can do. That's why we watch professional sports, because what they can do is extraordinary, whether it be strongman or gymnastics or swimming or whatever. They can do things that the normal person can't do, and it's amazing. And then we imagine these heroes, they could do even more. Well, if you want to have your game world feel like that is true in your game world, then you have to have a reference for what a normal person is like. And if you want to be able to play, one of the cool things about GURPS is you can play an average person. And you can take an average person and probably you got to put them in some extraordinary situation. Otherwise, what are you doing? If they're just going about their daily life, it's probably not a very fun experience. But there are people that create GURPS characters that are like, they make themselves. And then like, what if I was suddenly caught up in a spy novel type scenario? What if I'm Jason Bourne and I didn't know it, So there are things like that you can do in GURPS, which is really cool. But again, you need the reference. GURPS has that. It has the reference for what it's like to be an average person. What it's lacking is the balance, where people can unintentionally make characters that are very incongruous and are very hard to have in the same campaign. Another thing that I also really would like to see and would like to create in this case is I have played some really, and this is like a niche market. I understand that to some extent. But I would like to be able to play a character and continue playing a character for a very long time. I have so many games where like you kind of out level, and I don't want to necessarily even make a new character. So I want to be able to continue playing. GURPS has this problem. If you slowly accumulate points, eventually you get to the point where you're like kind of a superhero. And GURPS has rules for dealing with superheroes, and it has rules for some of this other stuff. I find it works pretty well, but it doesn't work as well as I would like it to. And most other games don't even do this. It's one of the things I think I saw something just recently. Someone was talking about, am I slandering GURPS? Lyriel says, don't give me a hard time. No, Shadow Dark. Someone asked, Kelsey, like, hey, it only goes to like 9th or 10th level. Basically like what happens when you get to, and that was one of their, and Kelsey had an answer for that. But the truth is that eventually you'll level out. And then what do you do? And so I think a system that can address and be able to allow you to continually raise the power level in a way that is satisfying, is really desirable to me. Do I need to start listening to the stream again and yell at you? No, Lyriel, I'm comparing GURPS to, yes, you do. Lyriel, I'm comparing what I would like to make to GURPS, a system that I really like, and saying that like, hey, I would like to, there's still problems with it. And that's why I want to make a system, because I would like to address these things. And so those are just a handful too. And I think that in some ways, GURPS is like, I've compared it before in my review, actually, I think, and in a follow up video, to like getting a bunch of tools, but like not being given the guidelines for how to use them. I would like to structure things so that it's a little bit easier for people to make the thing they want to make. Because again, if you have to do, if a GM or if a group of players has to do all this work to essentially redesign a system, then you're like, well, what is the system doing for me? Why am I, why am I buying into it? And that's kind of a grandiose thing. I would like to make, I would essentially like to make a system of systems where you can help players who, if you want to play in a grim, dark world, that there are certain mechanical rules you can pull in that will help your game feel like that. Because that's what a lot of these smaller and niche TTRPGs do. They have these mechanics that are bespoke that are to help you, like help the game world feel like what you want it to feel. And I think that'll always exist. I'm not really trying to replace those because I think that if you custom design a thing to do one thing, it's probably going to do that better than anything else. But I think you can get very close. And I think you can get close enough that for a broad swath of people, it's desirable and it's what they would want to play because again of the versatility of being able to go, well, I want to play a fantasy horror themed, setting that's, like this. And then cool, we can do that with a system. And the system allows us to do that easily. It allows me to select things that will allow me, that will give my players guidelines for how to make a character, what is allowed, what is not allowed. And then also be able to say, but we can also do a sci-fi, setting that where we do that kind of thing. And there are rules for how to deal with the technology and so on and so forth. Rev says, are there tools or anything to design the actual mechanics of the game? Do you mean like as for one who is interested in designing a TTRPG, are there mechanics or there are tools for that? Or do you mean something else, Rev? Like a drawing board kind of thing, calculations, etc. Not really, Rev. Not that I'm aware of. One of the things in the TTRPG space is that you are, it not only is it you're legally allowed, and it is considered socially acceptable and for good reason. Where you can't, in the U.S. This is not true in like Japan, which is a problem. For them for various reasons. Reference some of the stuff with the what was it, the Pokemon knockoff. But you can't like control or copyright or patent or anything the actual game mechanics, and so you can borrow mechanics. There's stuff like what you would call trade dress, so like the way it's presented, that you can have. There is some like legal protection in the U.S. So what a lot of creators, and that's why I said this before you joined, but there's only like 20% of games actually have like enough unique features or enough known features combined in a unique way that I would argue that they're like truly a unique product. And a lot of them are taking the same core mechanics as other systems, sometimes like directly. I mean, Candela Obscura did this, and that's why people were mad at it. One, because they felt like they're ripping off of John Harper, who made Blades in the Dark, which is where that system largely borrows from. And two, I think because they felt like they didn't do anything original, and so that's why Candela Obscura got a lot of heat. And then also I think 3 from such a large studio, or not even a large studio at the time, but by something that was made by Critical Role, which has such a massive fan base that they knew was going to sell no matter what. I think people were expecting something more original and they didn't get it. So they were kind of frustrated by that. But there's not anything like legally wrong with that. Like you're allowed to do it. So I think what a lot of creators do is they look and they borrow mechanics from other things. And I think the vast majority of people that actually make a lot of this stuff aren't trying to make their own mechanics from scratch. And in some ways, like, that's valid because, like, how many ways can you do something that is fairly basic? So, like, the idea of like rolling a die and you succeed if you roll under or you roll over, right? Like, you don't want, like, that's a basic mechanic. So, and a lot of people that are new to TTRPGs too will see stuff like, oh, they ran into one roll under system. So if they see another roll under system, like, oh, they did what this other company did. And it's like, no, dude, there's like 1,000 games that do roll under systems. Like, it's not really stealing. It's kind of like when people see a hex grid in a tabletop board game and they go, oh, this game is like Settlers of Catan. And you're like, dude, this is nothing like Settlers of Catan. I realize that's like one of your few like reference points. So I understand why you would think that. The problem becomes in sometimes you have people that are kind of militant and angry about it. And they're like, you're ripping off of Settlers Catan, you idiots. How could you do this? Sometimes that happens in TTRPG games where someone doesn't know that like other games have used these same systems, and they don't. And the game they think did it originally is just happens to be their favorite game, and so they actually think that like other games ripped them off. And it's like, no, like 6 games did it before that your favorite game did this. Yeah. Rev says, I don't mean like copying, but like a place to design something, try different things out before you physically make all the pieces and the board. Rev, yeah, they're not that I'm aware of, Ben. There might be a board game. I'm pretty sure there's nothing like that. There is usually you prototype for board games, so you make physical pieces to test out and play. For TTRPGs, you wouldn't need to do that, but you could just try out your own thing. But as far as I'm aware, there's no like product or website or anything else that does that, man. I understood what you were asking, just to be clear, but yeah, there's nothing like that. I was just running to my phone to say Catan/Hex thing. Yeah. Beehives are really really similar to Catan. Yeah. That's like literally what people will say, that like that kind of thing. And you're like, I think maybe Catan borrowed from the beehives, because they don't know. And I'm not hating on anybody for not knowing. It's just, it can be kind of funny when people are like mad about it, but they think they have a basis, like a basis for it. And you're like, nah, dude. And there are original mechanics that come out all the time, and there are some really cool things that that are designed. And again, that's what happened with Candela Obscura, where there is more than just the base mechanics. It was basically powered by, right? Like, it was basically like, we're taking the rule mechanics and then we're overlaying that with our own flavor. But again, that's like a vast majority of, or at least a large swath of the TTRPG, the tabletop role-playing games. Actually, Catan borrowed from Civ and B stole from Catan. Yeah, there you go. That one got a laugh at a Lyriel. Guppy. They should be sued, honestly. Yeah. Do you just sue the queen, or do you sue the workers, or who do you sue there? Do you sue all of them? Maybe. So, yeah. So, like when something like Candela Obscura, where there are a lot of different types of mechanics that are not as core and basic and fundamental as rolling over or rolling under a number, but have a lot more going on, and you really just take all of that stuff and then put your own flavor over it. Clearly people didn't like that, and they felt like it probably, I don't know what everybody felt like, but I think in general it left a bad taste in people's mouth, where like, hey, you didn't really do anything. You didn't make a game here. You kind of just borrowed the rules from another game and put some flavor text over it. I think that's what a lot of people felt like with that product. Sue all of them individually to maximize profits. There you go, Guppy. Yeah. So, and I'll actually do a stream where this is all I talk about. But since we're chatting about it, I'll tell you a little bit more, whether you're interested or not. So one of the things I've talked to you guys about, part of this just barring rules from other games, I don't think a lot of these games have gone back to first principles in a long time. And I think a lot of people have just not bothered. I think a lot of them, too, that's not the level of design that they are interested or prepared to do. What I have tried to do is go back. So, like, I shared the other day the formula that I made for initiative, which has already changed. Um, uh, Lyriel Scott guts Lyriel says, especially if there are bees on Super Earth, those are definitely commies or socialist, not a super democracy. Yeah, yeah, they're not communist, Lyriel. It's like they're like fascist or something. In Helldivers, it's like the thing you wouldn't expect. It's kind of weird. I don't know why they did that, or maybe just to drive home the point that it was supposed to be satire would be my best guess. But yeah, there's something you wouldn't expect. But like for example, with strength for small characters and large characters, this is one of the issues I have with GURPS. In GURPS, trying to charge somebody and knock them down or knock them back is like incredibly difficult. And it's like it takes a small act of God to knock someone back like one or two spaces, and you're probably not going to knock them back further, right? And that is not really realistic. Um, there are situations where that is realistic and that can happen, but in general, one creature with a lot more mass than another will be able to charge through another creature. So it's very unsatisfying in GURPS when you have a very large, very strong character that might weigh 500 pounds and you can't charge through and knock someone back very far that weighs 120 pounds. If you weigh 500 pounds, I at 260, if I charge someone who weighs 120 pounds, I can toss them like a rag doll quite a ways. And GURPS doesn't do that for all of its for all the things I love about it. It doesn't do that. I don't like, I would also like things to address. Like, I think mass is a critical part of role playing games, or could be. For me, it is. And so the other thing too that I would like to do, and I think GURPS does quite well, is you can play GURPS in a very lightweight fashion. So a lot of this stuff sounds really super heavy and super rules heavy, and not everybody wants that kind of game. And I frankly don't always want that kind of game. I really enjoy playing something like Kobolds Ate My Baby, which is just I would consider that probably an ultralight category. It's called LARPing, Rev Lush. Yeah, Rev, that's called LARPing, man. I would like to play something that has the ability to be that ultralight. Plus, I think that's where most people want to start with a system is not even ultralight, but at least light. And then as you play it more and you get comfortable with all the rules, you find yourself wanting more detail. At least I do. And I think a lot of people do. And then you eventually get to the point where you're like, okay, I have enough detail that like I'm in my happy place. And I would like a system like GURPS does very well, that does that and allows you to do that. Super socialist, the absolute enemy of managed democracy. Yeah, Guppy says, honestly, not sure if there are bees on Super Earth because bees wouldn't vote. That means they don't like democracy. Truth enforcers would have to get rid of all of them who don't vote. Yeah. Lyriel says the lore of Helldivers is amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, man. I still am getting errors from YouTube. We'll have to figure this out later. I don't know what's going on. Rev doesn't Knight seem like someone who would LARP. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't. Yeah, LARPing is called the LARPing is the acronym. It's live action role playing. Rev, and I have LARPed, Lyriel. I mean, we do it at but I don't do it like regularly. I mean, that's what we did at Gen Con. We almost had some IRL combat at Gen Con because somebody was being a jerk to my wife, and I was ready to. It didn't get that serious, but I was pissed. He wants a functional sword and bought leatherworking tools to make armor. Indeed. Yeah. Knight looks like a LARPer. I don't think those are LARP or leaping. Yeah, LARPing. Yeah. Oh, I've LARPed a couple of times then. Okay, yeah. One of the things too with like LARPing and depending on what you're doing, but like some people dress up in full armor. So there's like levels and styles of LARPing too, which I guess is what I think Lyriel's point is like it that game at an organized game at a convention is not LARPing enough for her. But but there are people that like dress up in full armor and you actually hit each other, sometimes with foam weapons and not wearing real armor, or with real weapons wearing like actual armor. And then like if someone hits you in the leg, it's like, oh, your leg is wounded and you have to take a knee. And then you continue fighting from a kneeling stance. So I used to think that that was all of LARPing. And I was like, yeah, I don't do that. That's weird. Those are some weird dudes out at the park hitting each other with foam swords. Although now I'm like, can I get a sword? Can I get a foam sword? I'd go do that. So also, I remember them being incredibly uncoordinated. So it was like really low stakes foam sword fighting. No offense to those guys. I'm sure they're doing the best they could, but I don't think they were exactly athletes. It was kind of like just, you know, our normal people, right? Out there doing their thing, but taking it really seriously. I also used to have a problem. What's up, Luke? What's going on, man? I still have this problem sometimes where people don't think I'm a nerd because I don't dress like a nerd and I don't always look like a nerd. And it can actually be a problem, which is kind of weird. Oh, we got a flop from Maze. Oh my gosh. Flop on stream. Lyra says, there's no costume involved. I don't think it's LARPing, is it? I don't know, Lyriel. I think this is like the levels of what you would call it. Like I think that I think it is. I think it's live action role playing. I don't think you have to have I don't think you have to have a costume. I think that that's the whole levels thing. It's like do you dress in do you wear armor and like et cetera, et cetera. Rev says, I mean like life-size game pieces and a big board and stuff. Ah, like a life-size chessboard. Oh, that's pretty fun. I do like that idea. Luke says, at Night Haro, can we have a stream where we have a bingo card for what the bunnies do for a one shot, and then and then you stream said one shot for us? So hold on, how are we structuring this? So let me read that again. Can we have a stream where we have a bingo card for what the bunnies do for a one shot? How do we have a bingo card one shot bunnies? I'm not sure how those three things combine. I think I've heard of people doing stuff like this. I'm just not, like off the top of my head, it's not coming to me. And then you stream said one shot for us. Lyriel says, we did almost get some combat in that dungeon. The employee was running one of the rooms, implied that I was illiterate. And there was an employee in one of the rooms at Gen Con running the true dungeon who insulted multiple people in our group. And I probably would have said something eventually, but he said something to Lyriel the second time. And I had some words with him. He tried to play it off like he was just joking and I wasn't having it. Yeah. I sometimes wish violence was more socially acceptable. Oh man. All right. Not really. I don't really mean that, but I just get mad. I'm not like that. I try not to be like that. I used to be. I try incredibly hard not to be that way. Luke says, AKA bunnies do a flip equal a drunk holy man. Oh, fist fights everyone. Oh my God, I love this bingo card idea. Listen, I'm willing to do it, but I don't know if I want to take the time to make that kind of bingo card. I don't know. You're a nerd, IMO. Well, I walked up to a table of guys once, talking about like not coming off as a nerd. I walked up to a table of guys playing Magic, and I was like, I smelled, and I was like, it smells like nerd over here, and they were like, dude, come on. And I was just joking, and I thought that was funny because I'm a nerd. We're all nerds. I thought it was kind of funny. They thought I was being mean to them and I was just coming up and ridiculing them for playing Magic. And I was just trying to find an icebreaker because I wanted to come watch them play Magic and not be weird and creepy by just staring at them playing Magic. So my icebreaker backfired because they didn't think I was a nerd because I didn't have a funny shirt on or something, you know. I think I had just come from the gym, so I was probably dressed like a gym bro or something and had some protein in my hand. I don't know. But that's what I mean. And they've probably been harassed before, you know, I don't know. So if Bunny fight, then Dale the Dwarf returns to haunt night. Dude, Dale the Dwarf was incredibly fun. I also miss Gloopy. There's 50 shades of LARPing. Yeah, I agree, Guppy. I think there is quite a few shades of LARPing. Can I join VC and explain it? Yeah, we can do that. Why haven't you streamed one of your tabletop games night so we can all watch? Rev, I've done a few. Usually we do Theater of the Mind, man. I've actually done a few. They do incredibly poorly. The other thing is that I don't know what Talith. I don't know what this. I don't know what Mr. Monkas means, man. What does that mean? I know it was. I know what it was in response to. I just don't know what it means. Oh, scared. Okay. Yeah. I'll be there in 1 second. I just got to catch up with chat, then I'll jump in. Yeah. So I just want to answer Rev's question on why I haven't streamed. Rev, I have one of the things that I am interested in doing, man, is I'm not necessarily interested in like an incredibly polished, like professional actors session. I wouldn't mind that, I guess, but I think it's much more interesting for people to see what the average table looks like. Because we have some really good professionals out there, and then we have a lot of people that are trying to be really good professionals, which is what I would be doing. But it's not like we don't have a lot where it's like this. It's intimidating for people, and I think people watch those and they think that like that's what it should be like or whatever. And I would like people to have like realistic expectations of what a TTRPG is like. I streamed Kobolds Ate My Baby. If you Google Night Horror Gaming, Kobolds Ate My Baby, or maybe KAMB, you might find it where we played some. But I also, the other thing is if I'm playing with just normal, you know, you guys or whatever, I think people like role playing, like things can happen where like they come off wrong. And I don't want someone to like come off wrong and like then people give them a hard time on the internet because when they don't mean it, or maybe they do and it's just like a bad situation. I don't necessarily want to expose people to that kind of like public ridicule or that kind of public response because I do this for a living and I am like very adapted to it. Like it doesn't bother me, but it could be, it's upsetting. People try to do YouTube all the time and they find that they're not really prepared for it and they can't handle the criticism. They can't handle the mean comments. And I don't want to put people through that generally. So I'm kind of reticent to do it, man. But I'm open to doing something. So I appreciate the suggestion. I'm open to doing more of it in the future. Maybe I'll figure out a different format or something that could work. All right. We're going to get Luke in here and he's going to tell us this idea. RTS, what's up, man? You're on.
All right, so hold on. I gotta mute the stream because I was getting the double-sided verbiage there.
Yeah, that's harsh. That's harsh.
All right, so here's the bunny bingo card. All right, so so this is a two-parter. I know you just went over the whole thing about why you're hesitant to maybe stream a D&D or a tabletop RPG session, but you do it, and we have a live camera, and like you have to set up like a little bot. But like the bunny's nomming right now, if the bunny's nomming on something, then like a random action occurs and you just have like this giant like D50 table. So like earlier the bunnies were like rolling on each other. So like bunny kung fu means like random drunk monk just shows up out of nowhere and just starts punching people. Like randomly just a hobo monk comes out of nowhere and like, you know, quivering palm knocks somebody unconscious and like disappears like Batman into the night. Does that make sense? Like it's just pure chaos fuel. Like you're basically gonna have a wild magic bunny in the party, That doesn't really have a thought or a process. Also, hi, hello, internet. I'm here once again to cause chaos in tonight's live.
Guppy says, at Luke, joke's on you, I'm dead inside. I guess that's in reference to the dad's dead joke. It's a fun idea, man. I would love to get the rabbits involved in some role playing too.
Or if you have a top-down camera, where the rabbits go is where the things are that are fighting the party go. That would also be chaotic, but you need a way bigger spot for the bunny.
Okay.
Like, just have like a giant free area and they roam around and there's just like enemies are doing weird stuff. Be like, what's happening?
Have you seen the guy who does D&D with other D&D YouTube or TTRPG YouTubers, but it's actually Monopoly?
I think I have seen it, like, or something similar to that. It's been a minute. I thought you were going to mention the guy who did tabletop RPG, but all the enemy NPCs were run by goldfish. So, like, what the goldfish was doing directionally determined what the enemy was going to do.
Oh my gosh!
Like how they're going to interact. Yeah, he spent a lot of time setting it up, and it was like, oh yeah, the goldfish are slowly killing the party. I don't know what to do, guys, because like I actually can't stop the goldfish because it's hardwired into Roll20. Somebody help! Somebody help the party! Somebody tell them what to do.
That's funny.
Like a double bunny camp. So then, like, just double the ads for no random reason. Like, they're fighting 4 kobolds. Bam! They just like slap their hands together and they like, I don't know, Naruto no jutsu and make shadow clones. I don't know. Like, bam! Just double the bunnies, and then when the bunny guns away, then like half the enemies disappear. It's pure chaos. I feel like there might be some adult Kool-Aid needed to handle said D&D session
to make that work
for a lot of reasons.
I mean, dude, this sounds like you're ready for this, man. When are you gonna do it? I'll come join. You put this together.
See, here's the problem. I'm a great player for like clickbait. Absolutely, like Dale is the embodiment of chaos. It's on the. Do you even have that video still up? Is Dale still up on the internet? Is Dale still out there for the wild to see?
I don't think he. I don't know if he is, man. I think so. There was some.
Did you take it down?
Well, I think there were. Well, so periodically, when my videos are really old and they if they didn't perform well, I take them down. They're not like privated; they're like unlisted. Typically, I think there was somebody who didn't expect to be recorded in that, even though we kind of told everybody. But I think out of respect for that, and because they didn't realize, even though again we communicated that pretty well, or I tried to. That I think I took it down because of that. And also, I don't, yeah. And I don't know if there's anything else.
It's not there. Yeah, you're right. It's not there. No.
Yeah. I mean, Dale was fun.
We were actually talking about that a little yesterday, actually. We were all saying how much we missed it and how much fun it was.
Oh, man. Well, I can find it and link it to you. I don't delete them or anything. I just,
perfect.
When a video too, if they're like old and didn't, it clogs up the channel. And then if like if it's being recommended to people and there's not that many views, at the end of the day I just go, well, something didn't resonate with people on this. So I don't necessarily, I'd rather them click on videos that
you have my full permission to just literally only just zoom in on my face and steal the Dale parts and make them short. So you can rob me blind because the Dale part was like fantastic. Also everything involving Goopy. Because I mean, I don't think people like Goopy too much because that was the precursor of the current modern day digital art issue. But yeah.
Goopy was made in a software that I told you guys about at the very beginning of the stream. That it wasn't made by me, for whatever that's worth. But it was made in a software that and a system that actually ethically sourced the material that was being learned, that was training the AI. Some people that maybe don't care or whatever, but that was
at least the right people got some money out of it. Like whether or not
artists got paid,
they're better than everyone else, but not enough. But that's how it always goes.
Well, with a lot of that, I mean, I still feel like some of the same way. One of the things with the AI art, am I keeping you, man? I'm just chatting.
Oh, you're good. I'm just really hanging out.
One of the things with the AI art, so RTS here knows. So knows all the people that I'm talking about, that I talked about earlier, or at least several of them. Yeah. So one of the things that there's a missing market. So like I paid to have art commissioned for TTRPG characters, which I feel like is like a flex. I'm no longer poor, right? Like, I feel like I'm rich compared to, how I grew up or whatever. But, there's a missing market where there's a lot of people who would like art for TTRPGs and for all kinds of different other situations, related to TTRPGs. And the issue is that they can't afford an artist. They can't afford to pay somebody. And I have seen people like Link where you can get stuff for cheap or for free, where artists are kind of practicing and stuff like that. I didn't know those existed until like a week ago, and I cover this kind of stuff for a living, so certainly most people don't know that stuff exists. But even then, like I don't know what the quality is and whatever compared to what AI can do or whatever. But there's a missing market where there's people that want to buy a product that doesn't exist. They want to buy decent quality custom character art or backgrounds or whatever. And I still think it would be cool if we could do it ethically, if you could have a group of artists or even just one artist who could train and they could allow people to get, because people can't afford a custom piece of art. And it doesn't have to be the best thing in the world, but if you could have, something where it was like licensing their work so that the artist got paid. Right now it's a missing market though. There's a buyer and there's no seller because nobody can sell at the price that people can afford. And I just think that there could be, I don't know, there could be a way of that happening, not in the current climate, like not in the way AI is currently done in the current situation. Maybe one day we'll get there where it can be done ethically. But yeah, I think that would be interesting and it would be cool, so that what I would like is for more artists to be able to get paid and be able to get more work. And I think that would be one thing that could help them. Anything that could help them in that direction would be good. That's not really possible right now, but I think it's an interesting thing. It would be cool.
So I have a three-parter here, and I'm just gonna make it sound like I'm talking on both sides of my mouth, but these are all like things I've been a part of or have witnessed that are interesting. So my first one is, if you're looking for artists, like not everyone has a huge budget. I most certainly don't have a huge budget. Most of my life has been retail. Guess what, internet? Fun fact: retail workers don't make a lot of money. If you didn't know that, shocking news. More at 7. But there's a lot of Facebook groups that used to exist. I think they still probably do exist. But like I had a guy who made my world maps for me. I was like, $5 a world map. I just need like a general top-down simple world map. I just don't have the time to do it. I'm also way too colorblind to make a map because my group hated my maps because the colors were atrocious and horrific to look at. But it looked good to me.
Yeah.
And as a fellow colorblind man, has probably been told the same thing at some point where you like color something and everyone's like, bro, you gotta like just delete that entire thing and just restart. It's like, what do you mean? It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
The quote, was it Project Hail Mary? I'm beautiful when eating or whatever. Like, I'm beautiful when drawing.
Yeah. Guppy says, I would love to pay an artist. I just need money first. Yeah. I mean, that's,
Yep.
The art I got commissioned was for someone I cared about, a lot. And it was for their birthday. And that's the only, and I, it was expensive and honestly, like probably not, like it wasn't bad. It probably could have been better for what I paid.
Yeah.
And it was over $100, well over. And, it was cool. And I got something custom and I got what I had asked for. Lyriel says, nah, it's amazing. Okay. All right. But yeah. And talking to people at Gen Con, or if you go talk to like professional artists who draw for, various products, most of them don't do commissions for people, for a number of reasons, but essentially the amount of money they'll make for the time they'll have to spend is not worth it for them. And most of that stuff, even for like a professional piece, will start at like 500. Maybe some people do it for less, but that's like not atypical. And it just depends what you want. If you want a full scene, If you want a big scene and a background, that's going to be more. Maybe for just the character, I think like 500 is not unrealistic for what they would ask
And
for
then
you.
that goes into the next one I had, which was back in the day. I joined a really big Discord, and we had a Discord like several hundred 700 people West Marches D&D campaign. For those who don't know what that is, West Marches is you break up massive groups into smaller amounts, and then everyone can come and go as they please because they were trying to organize hundreds of people, and there was like 50 DMs. And somebody brought up the thing of, hey, we're short on DMs. Why don't we hire some DMs? And that began the whole project of the Discord's whole opinion, and almost everyone besides maybe like 20 of us. I was one of the people that said that paying an artist for stuff is fine. Everyone else said if it's not home brewed yourself, it's not D&D, and you're not really doing the thing because D&D is art. And we had a huge conversation, and this was, I don't know, probably 15 years ago at this point.
Wow.
And I was like, what are we? Are you telling me that none of you are going to rip anything off of Pinterest, right? Oh, you are? Yeah, I don't want to hear anything because, I'm going to tell everyone watching this right now. You all have probably copied and pasted something from Pinterest. I want to say you're all guilty because we've all done it.
I mean, you probably can't even do it on it you do it unintentionally just from because art that is not supposed that someone will take a piece of art and then they'll re-upload it and tag it as being like copyright free and whatever, and it's like not to that happens all the time. But I've definitely grabbed something like I need a like this thing, and it's interesting too because some of the arguments will be like, well, just describe it, you don't need the art, and that's an interesting comment to make, because it's kind of like saying the art isn't worth it. And I think we all agree that the art is worth it. But we just want to be able to pay people. We also want to be able to pay them a price that we can afford. It would be cool if we had more. There's starting to be more products like this. I am not an artist, but I wish that someone who was interested in making a product who was an artist or was at least more versed in art than me would kind of do this stuff. Hopefully we'll see some in the next couple of years. There's a couple of companies that have released huge map packs and other kind of art for people that I think for like a reasonable price because they can sell a bunch of copies of it. And I think that's kind of cool. I think it can be, obviously you're starting a new business if you're trying to do it now. So that's kind of scary and can be costly and what have you. It's not guaranteed to succeed and what have you.
Yeah. And actually, it's funny that you still talk about that map pack. I actually went to a little nerdy store that's in the town I'm in, and they literally had this giant WotC Wizards of the Coast sponsored thing that's like, here's like 60 battle maps that you can use to do for your D&D campaign. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. This is neat. This is kind of like the stuff on Roll20 where there's just like the 50 default maps that they give you. Now, going on the thing for like artists, the only other thing I could think of is if there was an equivalent of Fiverr, right? Do you know what Fiverr is?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that, but for artists, where if you can just make general maps and just like have them be like a $3 download or like a $3 purchase and like have them be a password locked item. Now, yes, I understand just like D&D PDFs and everything. I'm not promoting it. Neither is Night, yada yada. But everyone probably knows someone who has pirated at least one tabletop RPG book. There's very low chances because a lot of stuff is digital now, especially when COVID forced everyone into their huts.
Well, and there's like a weird area too, like because if you're playing physically and you have a copy of a book, you share that copy. So it's also like, is sharing that PDF with the other people you're playing with, like, I don't know. There's some weird areas there where I think when you're like abusing the thing too, you kind of know it too. And I think that most people that make TTRPGs are not going to consider you sharing a PDF with the people you're playing with. As long
as somebody bought one copy at the table, that's all they care about, man.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's like, yeah.
We don't need to Warhammer this where they're like, is it the right type of plastic?
Yeah.
Did you 3D print a substitute even though you own the actual model? Like that's where it gets crazy. Because like going off the books in the PDF, if I recommend a book to people like, oh, can I borrow your copy to read it? I tell them no. under no circumstance, because you're never going to go buy it. I want you to support the author, so go buy the book. I told you to buy the book.
Yeah, I mean, I have problems with trying to run games. That's why I try to get before you could upload PDFs to Foundry, but I think that companies were probably rightly. I assume they had a reason for it and a valid reason. But or you could download them. Maybe you could download them. Anyways, one way or the other. Maybe it's down. I know for sure download. Maybe it wasn't upload, but you could get the PDFs and having Foundry running, I can share with people that I'm getting to help me playtest, because I'm afraid I'm going to share a copy with them. I don't want to do that because then they can just share it with the world, right? And so it's like, well, if I can use Foundry, but I can't really do that with Foundry anymore, because the way it's set up, it just doesn't work. I've tried it with a few things and it's kind of worked. Buying the Foundry module and everything else. Yeah, Talith, that's a great point here. We'll get there, Talith. Yeah. And anyways, it just makes it kind of difficult with a lot of that. Lyriel says, you don't draw, but that doesn't mean you're not an artist. Your performance art of Minotaur running into walls is the best around. Well, thank you, Lyriel. I run into walls sometimes. It's not my fault that the house is so small. Guppy says sometimes you need the art to get a good visual of what you're trying to describe. Sometimes the visual is just hard to put into words. I mean, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Like, I mean, and we like the art, we enjoy the art, and I think we all want artists to get paid, and we want more artists, not less. Not everybody feels that way, but I think the vast majority of us do. And that's why I would love to see a solution that is ethical and that works well, whatever this happens to be, where more artists could get more work and more people could enjoy it. Talith says everyone should play Pathfinder. The whole rule set is available for free on the internet. Talith, it almost wasn't for a while though, right? Where they're kind of going back on that. It's kind of the D&D model where they give away. I agree. I will tell you that when I make TTRPG products, I will make them available in some form for free. And if people like it and want to buy it because they enjoy it and they play it, then they'll be able to buy it. And if you don't, then you don't. And there's a couple of reasons why I want that. One of the main ones being is there are people that can't afford to spend $60 on a rule book, and I want them to still be able to play and enjoy anything I create or have, create with other people. And the other thing is I want people to be able to demo it, be able to try it, whatever. And, trying the starter rule set is never satisfying to me. And it's never like, what is the full product like? I don't know. Not that you couldn't do that still, but yeah, there's just a lot of issues with it. But yeah, the Pathfinder, you can get the rule set, or you can get, for free. What's the website, Talith? Do you want to tell us? I forget what it's called. But they almost took stuff off of this website because the company is not making money off of it. And I think they're having financial issues because of stuff we've talked about before with their warehouse and what have you, where they were maybe going to go back on that and weren't going to allow that stuff to be posted for free. Because I think they're trying to encourage more people to pay for it, when a lot of people are like, you could just play it for free. And I'm on Archives of Nethys. That's what it is. Thanks, man. And here I'll post that on YouTube. But yeah, I don't know. Let me grab it here.
Also, real quickly, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So also the other thing with like the whole them to just to verbally describe things, if you're not an artist, if you buy art or whatever, like, or if you don't draw yourself, like, I didn't know this until like 2 years ago. Aphantasia is a thing. Like 40% of the populace has some degree of it, aka they can't 3D model things in their head. And like me personally, I can 3D model like how an engine works and give it color and everything in my head and understand how it'll operate because I've worked on cars and stuff. And like if I describe something like that, like one of my buddies literally has no ability to like imagine anything in the back of his head. He has to see it. It's hilarious watching him play blueprints. I wish I had recordings of it. It's great because he has no idea what's happening because he can't remember things. But yeah, it's just like the weird aphantasia syndrome, as well as like, oh, that's like actually a thing, and most people probably don't know. Like half the populace effectively has it.
Yeah.
So
Talis says they took down images, art only. Yeah, that's because there was an outcry from the community. I covered this a while back. There's an outcry from the community about it, and so they came to an agreement. It wasn't nearly as bad as the OGL, of course, but it was. It did feel like we've been successful because we've done this thing, but now we want or need more money, and so we're changing the rules. Even though allowing this thing to happen like allowed us to grow, kind of like it's a different version that feels worse, that feels more scummy than most of the kind of Silicon Valley company style, where they like give product away, free ride shares, free this, until they get free to use our app until they get enough people, and then they slowly, oh, now it's just really cheap, oh, but it's still worth getting, and then they slowly raise the price. It's kind of the same thing, but it feels a lot worse and is kind of a little and is different. But that's kind of the vague idea. Yeah, I don't know if you guys would like to see. We'll have to wrap the stream here, but Rev or anybody else, like if you guys want to see some live streams or whatever, I actually GM like multiple times a week, at least twice. And I'm sure a lot of those people would be fine with we could do some streams. I don't think we're going to get, I'm not trying to get like 6 people on camera. Another issue with doing the streams too, with just like whoever wants to play, is not everybody has a good mic. And so if the audio is garbage, basically no one's going to be on camera. I wouldn't encourage people to do that anyways. But it can be difficult even if they want to be. And if they do have a camera, maybe they have like a not very good camera. There's just a lot of technical issues with just getting regular people to play. But I'm open to the idea. If it's fun as theater of the mind or fun to just listen to, that could be cool. I mean, we'd probably, in those situations, a lot of times I do theater of the mind because I don't have to do all the physical prep on the virtual tabletops. Oh my gosh, the VTTs. And so I do that oftentimes. So we could do that, but yeah. You guys, good.
I was gonna say, I think that's how we basically, what was it, Caldera Obscura or whatever. That's how we ran Dale.
Yeah,
which added great amounts of things where I had multiple options to like, where you're like, hey, if you want a meta game, I'll let you take that back. I was like, I said what I said. I shoot the civilian.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah, so just let me know if you guys would like to see that. Guppy Soars, I would like to see some I'd like to see some live streams if possible. I would listen to it or watch it. Okay, cool. Well, maybe I'll. Good.
Knight, I have a request. I think everyone would love this. Can we get a live stream, but you were literally in Microsoft Paint drawing what you were describing in the Theater of Mind live action? Like just live, like Microsoft painting it like it's 1992.
I mean, I
think Chad agrees. Chat agree quickly agrees how Knight has to do it. So Chad agrees that's how it works on YouTube. Go.
I mean, I do kind of like that idea. I've done stuff not very much unlike that, just as a visual. I think, like you said too, like it can be really nice to have a grid just for that visualization, even when you're not playing like highly tactical games. Like I know Lyriel would prefer that, because if I'm just describing it, she's like, wait, where is who? And if you watch like Critical Role, when they've done this in the past, or many of other things, like the players have to keep asking Matt, or having them, I don't know what they do currently. They probably have something physical, or they probably figure out some solution to this. But I just remember like Laura Bailey and all the other players having to ask Matt over and over again, like, wait, where's this, or how's that, or wait, how's this happening? And it's really nice to have like that's why I like Foundry. Yep, I agree. Chad agrees. I think one of the other things too is like when I'm doing streams, long on the channel, I've tried to do a certain minimum quality. I want to do high quality content. And so like throwing MS Paint on the screen does feel bad. And just throwing like a basic map on Foundry that I'm drawing, that's just like a hex, it's just like a grid, and I'm just drawing on it. Here's the wall, but doesn't mean I couldn't do that. So Guppy says, yes, I agree. Chad agrees. Chad is law. So now Knight has to do it. Okay. And Lyriel says 100%. All right. I mean, if you guys want it, I'll do it.
Yeah. Here's the high quality part. You gotta give high quality DMing. The art, your art can be garbage. You just gotta throw in that Morgan Freeman voice. Be like,
And then the narrator said that the monk burst through with his flagon of ale and threw it at the small dwarfing and kicked the bartender in the face.
You know, I actually feel like I've gotten worse at doing voices, and it's kind of upsetting to me. I can do some voices. I cannot stay in the voice. I think I need to just walk around talking in certain voices all day or something. Lyriel, are you on board with this? I need
MS Paint in 4K.
I need a Lyriel says, "Oh God, I need to up my listen. I need to up my game. My voices aren't very good, and even when they're good, I just can't. I just did a really good voice, and I'm like, I literally can't recreate that. I don't know how to recreate that. That was like a moment where I played that old wise woman or old innkeeper incredibly well, and like." It's 10 minutes later or it's the next session and I literally don't know how to do that voice again. And I'll do a different voice, which is incredibly fucking confusing for the players at the table. So I got to figure something out.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm an absolute menace. I have so many voices in my backlog. Me and the missus just spent the entire time in like downtown of the city we're in that has like well over 1 million people. And I was basically sounding like a drunk Mickey Mouse for the better part of like 3 hours.
Oh my gosh.
She was not enjoying it. Everyone else thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But that's the way marriage goes. One side's suffering, the other side's giggling.
Oh my gosh. Lyriel said, yeah, like that time she came down. She came down and she was like, what is going on? She came down to get tea. Her office is upstairs. She works at home too. And I was like practicing my Arnold voice for a TTRPG because I was like, I'm just gonna do Arnold. And so I'd been like practicing and she comes down and I'm like, like try. She's like, what is going on? I'm like, I'm just like, nah, don't worry about it. That's nothing.
Jorgen von oh no, the Jorgen von Stringle voice. Oh, I used to be able to do it so well. Hold on. Give me a moment. I must channel my inner Fairly Odd Parents.
I have voices too, but the doctor says they're all in my head. Others can't hear them. Rip, Guppy.
Saying that's why you need Guppy. That's why you need to say them out loud for everyone.
Do you want to? If you get this voice, you're going to sign us out in the voice.
I'm trying. I might need to just do some Igor.
Yeah, you could
Igor.
practice. You could practice and come back. Well, we'll call the stream here, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate all of you guys for chatting. It's a lot of fun. I do really enjoy having. Bro, I just got here. What's up, Frog? I do enjoy having these conversations. It's good to chat about this stuff. I know that it's kind of like, you guys probably, most of you tune in because you like me, know what's going on. But it's a little bit, but I like having like conversations where we can disagree and actually like chat about stuff. So I like talking about some of this stuff. I don't always want to do that. I don't even most of the time want to do that, but sometimes it's nice. So anyways, I just want to say thanks to everybody. I'm going to go through the list. Neo Raven saying hello. Appreciate that. Chatted earlier, helping me with the stream, as did Joel. Guppy, of course. Lyriel, thanks for being here. It's so good seeing you, Talith, man. It's been a while, dude. Talith said thanks for the stream. I love TTRPGs. That's awesome. Guys, if you play Dune, I don't know if Talith is doing anything else, but Talith has some amazing Dune videos. Go check them out. I've also chatted with him here on the channel. So appreciate you for tuning in, Talith. It's good to see you, man. It's been, like I said, it's been a bit because I haven't really been playing Dune. I don't know if you have either. Who else? We got Rev, course Guppy, course Lyriel. I'm sure I said those. I appreciate Luke, you for dropping in and getting to chat. Who else am I missing? I know there's more. There's got to be more. I'm just kind of going through the list here. Frog, I'm sorry that you tuned in right as I'm dipping out. That's happened before. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people, guys. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I really do. It is a pleasure and a dream to get to do this and actually get to make it a business. And excited to get to make TTRPGs and chat with you guys about it more. Frog says, wait, disagreements. Got to rewind it now. Frog, we talked about a little bit of spicy stuff, man. I think we did. Was it with the bunnies? Never. Guppy says Lyriel's mailing pizza and it hasn't gotten here yet. They said it would be there by now, Guppy. Oh man.
I have a new idea. Yeah. I have a new final idea. I'm so sorry. Now. I'm totally ruining your outro.
No, I was gonna kick it to you for the outro, man. If you had anything else.
Okay, all right, chat. This is very important. We need this crowdfunding with votes. or like mailed pizza to Guppy because apparently Guppy is hungry. But what if we got like a giant like stuffed like D20 for the bunnies to push around, and that's the roll table.
I mean,
Like instead of making this convoluted bingo card, we just find like a fluffy D20, and then like
I have
that,
I have
Oh, you-
one. I have one.
lit, or
it's-
chat get in there, get a yes,
Hi.
get a W, get something in there, throw something in there. Frog agrees.
Hi.
Frog, you're now bunny master. It's an unofficial role. It has no authority and no power, but you're now bunny master of the chat. Enjoy your time.
Yeah,
Enjoy your time. You've been promoted. There's
yeah.
a bunny. See, bam. Frog just made that bunny appear. Everyone.
All right, the bunnies are here for it. Apparently, yeah. I actually have a big stuff one that someone gave me as a present for GMing for them for a while, which is really nice. They would 100% eat through it, Guppy. So that's probably never going to happen because it is a cherished item. But maybe we could do something.
We'll get a plastic container for it. I'll find it. Don't you worry. I can find anything on the internet.
Oh my gosh, my
It's a
toddler
gift
ate my
in a crate.
foam D20. No.
Hey, you want to know what? You want to know what? That just means that you roll over the baby gently, and you're like, all right, that's a 20, boys. And that's what the 20 is in the baby. I know.
Oh man. Well, guys, thanks everybody for tuning in. I am playtesting the new TTRPG that I'm working on. The light version of it. It's going to come out in phases. I didn't really talk about that earlier, but I'm playtesting that this weekend. I'm running 2 groups, and I've got a third group that I'm running the Cosmere TTRPG. So I don't know if I'll be able to, my point in all of that is I don't know if I'll be streaming tomorrow or this weekend, but we'll be back Monday. Will Schoonover from Steve Jackson Games is also going to be joining me, and we're going to be talking about layout and design in tabletop products. He's someone who works professionally in the industry, has for a long time, over a couple of decades, I think. So we'll be chatting with him. He's been on here before. Hopefully you guys know who he is. But we really will call it here, guys. Have a great night. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.